Abandon. Desert. Leave without planning to come back. Quit. A. When Roy abandoned his family, the police went looking for him. B. The soldier could not abandon his friends who were hurt in battle. C. Because Rose was poor, she had to abandon her idea of going to college. 2. Keen. Sharp, eager, intense, sensitive. A. The butcher's keen knife cut through the meat. B. My dog has a keen sense of smell. C. Bill's keen mind pleased all his teachers. Being jealous, Mona would not let her boyfriend dance with any of the cheerleaders. 4. Tact. Ability to say the right thing. A. My aunt never hurts anyone's feelings because she always uses tact. B. By the use of tact, Janet was able to calm her jealous husband. C. Your friends will admire you if you use tact and thoughtfulness. 5. Oath. A promise that something is true. A curse. A. The president will take the oath of office tomorrow. B. In court, the witness took an oath that he would tell the whole truth. C. When sex, vacant. Empty, not filled. A. Someone is planning to build a house on that vacant lot. B. I put my coat on that vacant seat. C. When the landlord broke in, he found that apartment vacant. 7. Hardship. Something that is hard to bear, difficulty. A. The fighter had to face many hardships before he became champion. B. Abe Lincoln was able to overcome one hardship after another. C. On account of hardship, Bert was let out of the army to take care of his sick mother. 8. Gallant. Brave, showing respect for women. A. The pilot swore a gallant oath to save his body. B. Many gallant knights entered the contest to win the princess. C. It is so gallant that he always gives up his sowisi to a woman. 9. Data. Facts. Information. A. The data about a bank robbery were given to the FBI. B. After studying the data, we were able to finish our report. C. Unless you are given all the data, you cannot do the math problem. 10. Unaccustomed, not used to something. A. Coming from Alaska, Claude was unaccustomed to Florida's heat. B. The king was unaccustomed to having people disobey him. C. Unaccustomed as he was to exercise, Vic quickly became tired. 11. Bachelor. A man who is not married. A. My brother took an oath to remain a bachelor. B. In a movie, the married man was mistaken for a bachelor. C. Before the wedding, all his bachelor friends had a party. 12. Qualify. Become fit. Show that you are able. A. I'm trying to qualify for the job that is now vacant. B. Since Pauline can't carry a tune, she's sure that she will never qualify for the girls' chorus. C. You have to be taller than 5'5" to qualify as a policeman in our town. 1. Corpse. A dead body, usually of a person. A. When given all the data on a corpse, Colombo was able to solve the murder. B. The corpse was laid to rest in the vacant coffin. C. An oath of revenge was sworn over the corpse by his relatives. 2. Conceal. Hide. A. Tris could not conceal his love for Gloria. B. Count Dracula concealed the corpse in his castle. C. The money was so cleverly concealed that we were forced to abandon our search for it. 3. Dismal. Dark and depressing. A. When the weather is so dismal, I sometimes stay in bed all day. B. I am unaccustomed to this dismal climate. C. As the dismal reports of the election came in, the senator's friends tactfully made no mention of them. 4. Frigid. Very cold. A. It was a great hardship for the men to live through the frigid winter at Valley Forge. B. The jealous bachelor was treated in a frigid manner by his girlfriend. C. Inside the butcher's freezer, the temperature was frigid. 5. Inhabit. Live in. A. Eskimos inhabit the frigid part of Alaska. B. Because Sydney qualified, he was allowed to inhabit the vacant apartment. C. Many crimes are committed each year against those who inhabit the slum area of our city. 6. Numb. Without a power of feeling. Dead end. A. My fingers quickly became numb in the frigid room. B. An odd feeling came over Mr. Massey as he read the telegram. C. When the nurse stuck a pen in my numb leg, I felt nothing. 7. Peril. Danger. A. The hunter was abandoned by the natives when he described the peril that lay ahead of him. B. There was great peril in trying to climb the mountain. C. Our library is filled with stories of perilous adventures. 8. Recline. Lie down, stretch out, lean back. A. Richard likes to recline in front of the television set. B. After reclining on her right arm for an hour, Machen found that it had become numb. C. My dog's greatest pleasure is to recline by the warm fireplace. 9. Shriek. Scream. A. The man shrieked when she discovered the corpse. B. With a last shriek, Ronald fled from the room. C. Facing the peril of the waterfall, the barman let out a terrible shriek. 10. Sinister. Evil, wicked, dishonest, frightening. A. The sinister plot to cheat the widow was uncovered by the police. B. When the bank guard spied the sinister-looking customer, he drew his gun. C. I was frightened by the sinister shadow at the bottom of the stairs. 11. Tempt. Try to get someone to do something. Taste. Invite. A. A banana split can tempt me to break my diet. B. The sight of beautiful Louise tempted the bachelor to change his mind about marriage. C. Your offer of a job tempts me greatly. 12. Wager. Bet. A. I lost a small wager on the Super Bowl. B. After winning the wager, Tex treated everyone to free drinks. C. It is legal to make a wager in the state of Nevada. Typical. Usual. Of a kind. A. The sinister character in the movie wore a typical costume, a dark shirt, low tie, and tie jacket. B. The horse ran his typical race, a slow start and a slower finish, and my uncle lost his wager. C. It was typical of the latecomer to conceal the real cause of his lateness. 2. Minimum. The least possible amount, the lowest amount. A. Studies show that adults need a minimum of 6 hours sleep. B. The minimum charge for a telephone, even if no calls are made, is about $20 a month. C. Congress has set a minimum wage for all workers. 3. Scarce. Hard to get. Rare. A. Trees that are older than 100 years are scarce. B. Because there is little moisture in the desert, trees are scarce. C. How scarce are good cooks? 4. Annual. Once a year. Something that appears yearly or lasts for a year. A. The annual convention of musicians takes place in Hollywood. B. The publishers of the encyclopedia put out a book each year called an annual. C. Plays that live only 1 year are called annuals. 5. Persuade. Win over to do or believe. Make willing. A. Can you persuade him to give up his bachelor days and get married? B. Noah could persuade the captain to leave the sinking ship. C. Bess Shriek persuaded Jessie that she was in real danger. 6. Essential. Necessary. Very important. A. The essential items in the cake are flour, sugar, and shortening. B. It is essential that we follow the roadmap. C. Several layers of thin clothing are essential to keeping warm in frigid climates. 7. Blend. Mix together thoroughly, a mixture. A. The colors of the rainbow blend into one another. B. A careful blend of fine products will result in delicious food. C. When Jones blends the potatoes together, they come out very smooth. 8.
Visible, able to be seen. A. The ship was barely visible through the dense fog. B. Before the stars are visible, the sky has to become quite dark. C. You need a powerful lens to make some germs visible. 9. Expensive, costly, high-priced. A. Because diamonds are scarce, they are expensive. B. Margarine is much less expensive than butter. C. Shelley's expensive dress created a great deal of excitement at the party. Devise, think out, plan, invent. A. The burglars devised a scheme for entering the bank at night. B. I would like to devise a method for keeping my toes from becoming numb while I am ice skating. C. If we could devise a plan for using the abandoned building, we could save thousands of dollars. 12. Wholesale, in large quantity, less than retail in price. A. The wholesale price of milk is 6 cents a quart lower than retail. B. Many people were angered by the wholesale slaughter of birds. C. By buying my ties wholesale, I save $15 a year. Vapor, moisture in the air that can be seen. Fog, mist. A. Scientists have devised methods for trapping vapor in bottles so they can study its makeup. B. He has gathered data on the amount of vapor rising from the swamp. C. A vapor trail is the visible stream of moisture left by the engines of a jet flying at high altitudes. 2. Eliminate, get rid of, remove, omit. A. When the railroad tracks are raised, the danger of crossing will be eliminated. B. When figuring the cost of a car, don't eliminate such extras as air conditioning. C. If we were to eliminate all reclining chairs, no one would fall asleep while watching television. 3. Villain, a very wicked person. A. A typical moving picture villain gets killed at the end. B. The villain concealed the corpse in the cellar. C. When the villain fell down the well, everyone lived happily ever after. 4. Dense, closely packed together, thick. A. The dense leaves on the trees let in a minimum of sunlight. B. We couldn't row because of the dense weeds in the lake. C. His keen knife cut through the dense jungle. 5. Utilize, make use of. A. No one seems willing to utilize this vacant house. B. The gardener was eager to utilize different flowers and blend them in order to beautify the borders. C. Does your mother utilize leftovers in her cooking? 6. Humid, moist, damp. A. It was so humid in our classroom that we wished the school would buy an air conditioner. B. New York is usually complaining in the summer of the humid air. C. Most people believe that ocean air is quite humid. 7. Theory, explanation based on thought, observation or reasoning. A. Einstein's theory is really too difficult for the average person to understand. B. My uncle has a theory about the effect of weather on baseball batters. C. No one has advanced a convincing theory explaining the beginnings of writing. 8. Descent, go or come down from a higher place to a lower level. A. If we let the air out of a balloon, it will have to descend. B. The pilot, thinking his plane was in peril, descended quickly. C. Knowing her boat was waiting at the bottom of the staircase, Eleanor descended at once. 9. Circulate, go around, go from place to place or person to person. A. A fan may circulate the air in summer, but it doesn't cool it. B. My father circulated among the guests at a party and made them feel comfortable. C. Hot water circulates through the pipes in the building, keeping the room warm. 10. Enormous, extremely large, huge. A. The enormous crab moved across the ocean floor in search of food. B. Public hangings once drew enormous crowds. C. The gallant knight drew his sword and killed the enormous dragon. 11. Predict. Tell beforehand. A. Weathermen can predict the weather correctly most of the time. B. Who can predict the winner of the Super Bowl this year? C. Lara thought she could predict what it would do, but she was wrong. 12. Vanish. Disappear. Disappear suddenly. A. Even in California, the sun will sometimes vanish behind a cloud. B. Not even a powerful witch can make a jealous lover vanish. C. Give him a week without a job and all his money will vanish. 1. Tradition. Beliefs, opinions, and customs handed down from one generation to another. A. The father tried to persuade his son that the tradition of marriage was important. B. All religions have different beliefs and traditions. C. As time goes on, we will eliminate traditions that are meaningless. 2. Rural. In the country. A. Tomatoes are less expensive at a rural farm stand. B. Rural areas are not densely populated. C. The rural life is much more peaceful than a city one. 3. Burden. What is carried? Allowed. A. The burden of the country's safety is in the hands of the President. B. Irma found the enormous box too much of a burden. C. Ricky carried a burden throughout his college career. 4. Campus. Grounds of a college, university, or school. A. The campus was designed to utilize all of the college's buildings. B. Jeff moved off campus when he decided it was cheaper to live at home. C. I chose to go to Penn State because it has a beautiful campus. 5. Majority. The larger number, greater part, more than half. A. A majority of votes was needed for the bill to pass. B. The majority of people prefer to pay wholesale prices for meat. C. In some countries, the government does not speak for the majority of the people. 6. Assemble. Gather together. Bring together. A. The rioters assembled outside the White House. B. I'm gonna assemble a model of a spacecraft. C. All the people who had assembled for the picnic vanished when the rain began to fall. 7. Explore. Go over carefully. Look into closely. Examine. A. Lawyer Spence explored the essential reasons for the crime. B. The Weather Bureau explored the effects of the rainy weather. C. Sarah wanted to know if all of the methods for solving the problem had been explored. 8. Topic. Subject that the people think, write, or talk about. A. Predicting the weather is our favorite topic of conversation. B. Valerie only discussed topics that she knew well. C. The speaker's main topic was how to eliminate hunger in this world. 9. Debate. A discussion in which reasons for and against something are brought out. A. The debate between the two candidates was heated. B. Debate in the U.S. Senate lasted for 5 days. C. Instead of shrieking at each other, the students decided to have a debate on the topic. 10. Evade. Get away from by trickery or cleverness. A. Jean tried to evade the topic by changing the subject. B. In order to evade the police dragnet, Ernie grew a beard. C. The prisoner of war evaded questioning by pretending to be sick. 11. Probe. Search into, examine thoroughly, investigate. A. The lawyer probed the man's mind to see if he was innocent. B. After probing the scientist's theory, we proved he was correct. C. King Henry's actions were carefully probed by the nobleman. 12. Reform. Make better, improve by removing faults. A. After the present riot, the council decided to reform the correctional system. B. Brad reformed when he saw that breaking the law was hurting people other than himself. C. All the laws that force companies to reform will clear the dangerous vapors from our air. 1. Approach. Come near or nearer to. A. The lawyers in the Simpson trial were often asked to approach the bench. B. Herbal kissed Sylvia when he approached her. C. Ben approached the burden of getting a job with a new spirit. 2. Detect, find out, discover. A. Sam Spade detected that the important papers had vanished. B. From her voice, it was easy to detect that Elaine was frightened. C. We detected from the messy room that a large group of people had assembled there. 3. Defect. Fault. That which is wrong. A. Mike Chevrolet was sent back to the factory because of his steering defect. B. His theory of the formation of our world was filled with defects. C. The villain was caught because his plan had many defects. 4. Employee. A person who works for pay. A. The employees went on strike for higher wages. B. My boss had to fire many employees when meat became scarce. C. Joey wanted to go into business for himself and stop being an employee. 5. Neglect. Give too little care or attention to. A. The senator neglected to make his annual report to Congress. B. Bob's car got dirty when he neglected to keep it polished. C. It is essential that you do not neglect your homework. 6. Deceive. Make someone believe us through something that is false. Mislead. A. Atlas was deceived about the burden he had to carry. B. Virginia cried when she learned that her best friend had deceived her. C. The villain deceived Chief White Cloud by pretending to be his friend. A. Ray's team undoubtedly had the best debaters in our county. B. The Pilgrims undoubtedly assembled to travel to Rome together. C. If she didn't want to get into an argument, Valerie would have followed the majority undoubtedly. 8. Popular. Liked by most people. A. The Beatles wrote many popular songs. B. At one time miniskirts were very popular. C. Popular people often find it hard to evade their many friends. 9. Thorough. Being all that is needed. Complete. A. The police made a thorough search of the house after the crime had been reported. B. My science teacher praised Sandy for doing a thorough job of cleaning up the lab. C. Mom decided to spend the day in giving the basement a thorough cleaning. 10. Client. Person for whom a lawyer acts. Customer. A. The lawyer told her client that she could predict the outcome of his trial. B. My uncle tried to get General Motors to be a client of his company. C. If this restaurant doesn't improve its service, all its clients will vanish. 11. Comprehensive, including much, covering completely. A. After a comprehensive exam, my doctor said I was in good condition. B. The engineer gave our house a thorough comprehensive checkup before my father bought it. C. Mrs. Silver wanted us to do a comprehensive study of Edgar Allan Poe. 12. Defraud. Take money, rice, etc. away by cheating. A. My aunt saved thousands of dollars by defrauding the government. B. If we could eliminate losses from people who defraud the government, tax rates could be lowered. C. By defrauding his friend, Dexter ruined the family tradition of honesty. Postpone. Put off to a later time. Delay. A. The young couple wanted to postpone their wedding until they were sure they could handle the burdens of marriage. B. I neglected to postpone the party because I thought everyone would be able to come. C. The supermarket's owner planned to postpone the grand opening until Saturday. 2. Consent. Agree. Give permission or approval. A. My teacher consented to let our class leave early. B. David would not consent to our plan. C. The majority of our club members consented to raise the dues. 3. Massive. Big and heavy. Large and solid. Bulky. A. The boss asked some employees to lift the massive bikes. B. From lifting weights, Willie had developed massive arm muscles. C. The main building on the campus was so massive that the new students had trouble finding their way around at first. 4. Capsule. A small case or covering. A. The small capsule contained notes the spy had written after the meeting. B. A new untested medicine was detected in the capsule by the police scientists. C. He explored the space capsule for special equipment. 5. Preserve. Keep from harm or change. Keep safe. Protect. A. The lawyers wanted to preserve the newest reforms in the law. B. Farmers feel that rural homes should be preserved. C. Records of Hank Aaron's home runs will undoubtedly be preserved in the Baseball Hall of Fame. 6. Denounce. Condemn in public. Express strong disapproval of. A. The father denounced his son for lying to the district attorney. B. Some people denounce the government for probing into their private lives. C. Ralph Nader, the consumer advocate, denounced the defective products being sold. 7. Unique. Having no like or equal, being the only one of its kind. A. Going to Africa was a unique experience for us. B. The inventor developed a unique method of making ice cream. C. Albie has a unique collection of Israeli stamps. 8. Torrent. Any violent, rushing stream, flood. A. A massive rain was coming down in torrents. B. In the debate, a torrent of questions was asked. C. After trying to defraud the public, Lefty was faced with a torrent of changes. 9. Resent. Feel injured and angered at something. A. Bertha resented the way her boyfriend treated her. B. The earthquake victim resented the poor emergency cure. C. Columbus resented the fact that his crew wanted to turn back. 10. Molest. Interfere with and trouble. Disturb. A. My neighbor was molested when walking home from the subway. B. The gang did a thorough job of molesting the people in the park. C. Lifeguards warned the men not to molest any of the swimmers. 11. Gloomy, dark, dim, in low spirits. A. My cousin was gloomy because his best friend had moved away. B. The reason Doris wasn't popular was that she always had a gloomy appearance. C. Jones Beach is not so beautiful on a gloomy day. 12. Unforeseen. Not done before. Unexpected. A. We had some unforeseen problems with a new engine. B. The probe into the congressman's finances turned up some unforeseen difficulties. C. The divers faced unforeseen trouble in their search for the wreck. 1. Exaggerate. Make something greater than it is. Overstate. A. He wasn't trying to deceive you when he said that his was the best car in the world. He was just exaggerating. B. The bookkeeper exaggerated her importance to the company. C. When he said that Shaquille O'Neal was 8 feet tall, he was undoubtedly exaggerating. 2. Amateur. Person who does something for pleasure, not for money or as a profession. A. The amateur cross-country runner wanted to be in the Olympics. B. After his song, Don was told that he wasn't good enough to be anything but an amateur. C. Professional golfers resent amateurs who think they are as good as the people who play for money. 3. Mediocre. Neither good nor bad. Average. Ordinary. A. After reading my composition, Mrs. Evans remarked that it was mediocre and that I could do better. B. Howard was a mediocre scientist who never made any unique discoveries. C. The movie wasn't a great one, it was only mediocre. 4. Variety. Lack of sameness. A number of different things. A. El Dorado restaurant serves a wide variety of foods. B. The show featured a variety of entertainment. C. He faced unforeseen problems for a variety of reasons. 5. Valid. Supported by facts or authority. Sound. True. A. The witness neglected to give valid answers to the judge's questions. B. Rita had valid reasons for denouncing her father's way of life. C. When Dave presented valid working papers, the foreman consented to hiring him immediately. 6. Survive. Live longer than, remain alive after. A. It was uncertain whether we would survive the torrent of rain. B. Some people believe that only the strongest should survive. C. The space capsule was built to survive a long journey in space. 7. Weird. Mysterious. Unearthly. A. She looked weird with that horrible makeup on her face. B. Alan felt that weird things were starting to happen when he entered the haunted house. C. Becky had a weird feeling after swallowing the pills. 8. Prominent. Well-known. Important. A. My client is a prominent business person. B. Napoleon is a prominent figure in the history of France. C. Her violet eyes were the prominent feature of the model's face. 9. Security. Freedom from danger, care, or fear. Feeling or condition of being safe. A. Our janitor likes the security of having all doors locked at night. B. When the president travels, strict security measures are taken. C. Pablo wanted to preserve the security of his lifestyle. 10. Bulky. Taking up much space. Large. A. Charlie and Marty removed the bulky package from the car. B. The massive desk was quite bulky and impossible to carry. C. His client wanted an item that wasn't so bulky, Olson told us. 11. Reluctant. Unwilling. A. It was easy to see that Herman was reluctant to go out and find a job. B. The patient was reluctant to tell the nurse the whole gloomy truth. C. I was reluctant to give up the security of my family. Obvious. Easily seen or understood. Clear to the eye or mind. Not to be doubted. Plain. A. It was obvious that a lumberjack was tired after his day's work. B. The fact that Darcy was a popular boy was obvious to all. C. The detective missed a clue because it was too obvious. 1. Vicinity. Region near a place. Neighborhood. A. Living in the vicinity of New York, Drummy was near many museums. B. The torrent of rain fell only in our vicinity. C. We approached the Baltimore vicinity by car. 2. Century. 100 years. A. George Washington lived in the 18th century. B. The United States is more than 2 centuries old. C. Many prominent men have been born in this century. 3. Rage. Violent anger. Something that arouses intense but brief enthusiasm. A. Joan's bad manners sent her mother into a rage. B. In a fit of rage, Francine broke the valuable glass. C. The mayor felt a sense of rage about the exaggerations in the press. 4. Document. Something handwritten or printed that gives information or proof of some fact. A. Newly discovered documents show that the prisoner was obviously innocent. B. The documents of ancient Rome have survived many centuries. C. We were reluctant to destroy important documents. 5. Conclude. And finish. Decide. A. Most people are happy when they conclude their work for the day. B. The gloomy day concluded with a thunderstorm. C. Work on the building could not be concluded until the contract was signed. 6. Undeniable. Not to be denied. Cannot be questioned. A. The jury concluded that the teenagers were undeniably guilty. B. It is undeniable that most professionals can beat any amateur. C. That Leon resented Rita's good marks in school was undeniable. 7. Resist. Act against, strive against, oppose. Tony could not resist eating the chocolate sundae. B. Tight security measures resisted Jimmy's entrance into the bank. C. Harold resisted the opportunity to poke fun at the weird man. 8. Lack. Be entirely without something. Have not enough. A. Your daily diet should not lack fruits and vegetables. B. His problem was that he lacked a variety of talents. C. As an amateur dancer, Vincent knew that he lacked the professional touch. 9. Ignore. Pay no attention to. Disregard. A. Little Alice realized that if she didn't behave, her parents would ignore her. B. The student could not answer the question because he ignored the obvious facts. C. Older brothers and sisters often feel ignored when their parents only spend time with the new baby. 10. Challenge. Call to a fight. A. Aaron Burr challenged Alexander Hamilton to a duel. B. No one bothered to challenge the prominent lawyer. C. Trying to become a doctor was quite a challenge, Dick discovered. 11. Miniature. Represented on small scale. A. The young boy wanted a miniature sports car for his birthday. B. Instead of buying a massive dog, Teddy got a miniature poodle. C. We were seeking a miniature model of the bulky chess set. 12. Source. Place from which something comes or is obtained. A. The college student knew that he needed more than a basic textbook as a source for his report. B. The source of Buddy's trouble was boredom. C. Professor Smith's speech was a valid source of information on chemistry. 1. Excel. Be better than. Do better than. A. Because he was so small, Larry could not excel in sports. B. At least Hannah had the security of knowing that she excelled in swimming. C. Clarence Darrow wanted to become a prominent lawyer, but he felt that he must first excel in the study of history. 2. Feminine. Of women or girls. A. When my sister wants to look feminine, she changes from dungarees into a dress. B. Some men cannot resist staring when they see a woman who is especially feminine. C. My brother is ashamed to cry at a sad movie because people might think he is behaving in a feminine manner. 3. Mount. Get up on. A. Congressman Gingrich mounted a platform to make his speech. B. The watchman mounted a tower to see if there were any people in the vicinity. C. My sister couldn't mount a horse, so they gave her a pony instead. 4. Compete. Try hard to get something wanted by others. Be a rival. A. Steffi Graf was challenged to compete for the tennis title. B. The runner was reluctant to compete in front of his parents for the first time. C. When the amateur became a pro, he had to compete against better men. 5. Dread. Look forward to with fear. Fear greatly, causing great fear. A. The poor student dreaded going to school each morning. B. He had a dread feeling about a challenge he was about to face. C. I dread going into that deserted house. 6. Masculine. Of man, male. A. The boy became more masculine as he got older. B. It is undeniable that his beard makes him look masculine. C. The girls like Jerry because of his masculine ways. 7. Menace. Threat. A. Abe's lack of respect made him a menace to his parents. B. The Terrians of Rain were a menace to the farmer's crops. C. Sergeant Foy's raw language was an obvious menace to the reputation of the entire police department. 8. Tendency. Leaning, movement in a certain direction. A. My algebra teacher has a tendency to forget a student's names. B. His tendency was to work hard in the morning and then to take it easy in the afternoon. C. The tendency in all human beings is to try to survive. 9. Underestimate. Set too low a value, amount, or rate. A. I admit that I underestimated the power in the bulky fighter's frame. B. Undoubtedly, the boss underestimated his employee's ability to work hard. C. The value of our house was underestimated by at least $2,000. 10. Victorious. Having won a victory. Conquering. Playing in New Jersey, the Giants were victorious 2 years in a row. B. Terry faced a challenge with a bad attitude that he could not be victorious. C. Our girls' volleyball squad was victorious over a taller team. 11. Numerous. Very many, several. A. Critics review numerous movies every week. B. Dr. Fisher had resisted accepting money from the poor women on numerous house calls. C. The debater used numerous documents to back up his statements. 12. Flexible. Easily bent. Willing to yield. A. The tree was flexible, and a baby could bend it easily. B. Remaining flexible, Nick listened to arguments from both sides. C. A mouse's flexible body allows it to squeeze through narrow openings. 1. Evidence. That which makes clear the truth or falsehood of something. A. A juror felt he needed more evidence before voting to convict a former football star. B. Her many awards were evidence enough that Leona excelled in typing. C. Our teacher ignored the evidence that Simon had cheated on the test. 2. Solitary. Alone, single, only. A. Sid's solitary manner kept him from making new friendships. B. There was not a solitary piece of evidence that Manuel had eaten the cheesecake. C. The convict went into a rage when he was placed in a solitary cell. 3. Vision. Power of seeing, sense of sight. A. With the aid of the binoculars, my vision improved enough to see the entire vicinity. B. Ted Williams had perfect vision, and that helped to make him a great baseball player. C. The glasses that Irma bought corrected her nearsighted vision. 4. Frequent. Happening often, occurring repeatedly. A. We made frequent visits to the hospital to see our grandfather. B. On frequent occasions, Sam fell asleep in class. C. Dr. Bonner gave me some pills for my frequent headaches. 5. Glimpse. A short, quick view. A. This morning we caught our first glimpse of the beautiful shoreline. B. One glimpse of the very feminine vision was enough to tell Romeo that he loved Juliet. C. The tall shrubs kept us from getting a glimpse of the new people who inhabited the beach house. Sex. Recent, dawn, made, or occurring not long ago. A. At a recent meeting, the Board of Education provided the evidence we had been asking for. B. Bessie liked the old silent moves better than the more recent ones. C. Recent studies have concluded that more people are working than ever before. 7. Decade. 10 years. A. After a decade of granting salary increases, my boss ended the practice. B. Many people moved out of this city in the last decade. C. I have a vision that this decade will be better than the last one. 8. Hesitate. Fail to act quickly. Be undecided. A. Nora hesitated to accept the challenge. B. When he got to the robber's vicinity, he hesitated before going on. C. The proverb tells us that he who hesitates is lost. 9. Absurd. Plainly not true or sensible. Foolish. A. It was absurd to believe the fisherman's tall tale. B. The flabby boy realized that suggestion to diet was not absurd. C. Underestimating the importance of reading is absurd. 10. Conflict. Direct opposition. Disagreement. A. Our opinions about a company's success in the last decade are in conflict with what the records show. B. There was a noisy conflict over who was the better tennis player. C. The class meditation team was invited to settle the conflict. 11. Minority. Smaller number or part. Less than half. A. Only a small minority of the neighborhood didn't want a new park. B. A minority of our athletes who competed in the Olympics were victorious. C. Blacks are a minority group in the United States. 12. Fiction. That which is imagined or made up. A. The story that the president had died was fiction. B. We hardly ever believed Vinny because what he said was usually fiction. C. Marge enjoys reading works of fiction rather than true stories. 1. Ignite. Set on fire. A. Spark plugs ignite in an automobile engine. B. One match can ignite an entire forest. C. A careless remark helped to ignite the conflict between the brothers and the sisters. 2. Abolish. Do away with completely. Put an end to. A. The death penalty has recently been abolished in our state. B. We abolished numerous laws that didn't serve any purpose in this decade. C. My school has abolished final exams altogether. 3. Urban. Of or having to do with cities or towns. A. Many businesses open offices in urban areas. B. I plan to exchange my urban location for a rural one. C. Only a small minority of the people of the United States live far from any urban area. 4. Population. People of a city or country. A. China has the largest population of any country. B. The population of the world has increased in every decade. C. After the recent floods, the population of Honduras was reduced by 10,000. 5. Frank. Free in expressing one's real thoughts, opinions, or feelings, not hiding what is in one's mind. A. Never underestimate the value of being frank with one another. B. Bertha was completely frank when she told her friend about a sale. C. People liked Duffy because they knew he would be frank with them. 6. Pollute. Make dirty. A. The Atlantic Ocean is in danger of becoming polluted. B. There is much evidence to show that the air we breathe is polluted. C. It is claimed that cell powders pollute the water we drink. 7. Reveal. Make known. Napoleon agreed to reveal the information to the French population. B. The evidence was revealed only after hours of questioning. C. General Motors revealed reluctantly that there were defects in their new Buicks. 8. Prohibit. Forbid by law or authority. A. Illness manager prohibit him from appearing on television. B. Many homeowners prohibit others from working on their property. C. The law prohibits the use of guns to settle a conflict. 9. Urgent. Demanding immediate action or attention. Important. A. An urgent telephone call was made to the company's treasurer. B. The principal called an urgent meeting to solve the school's numerous problems. C. When he heard the urgent cry for help, the lifeguard did not hesitate. 10. Adequate. As much as is needed. Fully sufficient. A. Rover was given an adequate amount of food to last him the whole day. B. A bedroom, kitchen, and bath were adequate shelter for his living needs. C. Callis was adequate at his job, but he wasn't great. 11. Decrease. Make or become less. A. As he kept spending money, the amount he had saved decreased. B. In order to improve business, the store owner decreased his prices. C. The landlord promised to decrease our rent. 12. Audible. Able to be heard. A. From across the room, the teacher's voice was barely audible. B. After Len got his new hearing aid, my telephone calls became audible. C. Comments from Anne's drill sergeant were always easily audible. 1. Journalist. One who writes for, edits, manages, or produces a newspaper or magazine. A. There were 4 journalists covering the murder story. B. Barbara's experience working at a bookstore wasn't adequate preparation for becoming a journalist. C. A journalist must have a comprehensive knowledge of the city where he or she works. 2. Famine. Starvation. Great shortage. A. Famine in India caused the death of 1/10 of the population. B. There has been a famine of good writing in the last decade. C. The rumor of a famine in Europe was purely fiction. 3. Revive. Bring back or come back to life or consciousness. A. There is a movement to revive old plays for modern audiences. B. The nurses trying to revive the heart attack victim. C. Committees are trying to revive interest in population control. 4. Commence. Begin. Start. A. Graduation will commence at 10 o'clock. B. Bella hesitated before commencing her speech. C. The discussion commenced with a report on urban affairs. 5. Observant. Quick to notice, watchful. A. We were observant of the conflict between the husband and his wife. B. Because Katie was observant, he was able to reveal the thief's name. C. Milt used his excellent vision to be observant of everything in his vicinity. 6. Migrate. Move from one place to another. A. The fruit pickers migrated to wherever they could find work. B. Much of our population is constantly migrating to other areas of the country. C. My grandfather migrated to New York from Italy in 1919. 8. Vessel. A ship. A hollow container. Tube containing body fluid. A. The Girl Scouts were permitted a glimpse of the vessel being built when they toured the Navy Yard. B. My father burst a blood vessel when he got the bill from the garage. C. Congress voted to decrease the amount of money being spent on space vessels. 9. Persist. Continue firmly. Refuse to stop or be changed. A. The humid weather persisted all summer. B. Would Lorraine's weird behavior persist? We all wondered. C. Lloyd persisted in exaggerating everything he said. 10. Hazy. Misty. Smoky. Unclear. A. The vicinity of London is now to be hazy. B. Factories that pollute the air create hazy weather conditions. C. Although Cora had a great memory, she was unusually hazy about the details of our meeting on January 16th. 11. Gleam. A flash or beam of light. A. A gleam of light shone through the prison window. B. The only source of light in the cellar came in the form of a gleam through a hole in the wall. C. My grandmother gets a gleam in her eyes when she sees the twins. 12. Editor. Person who prepares a publication. One who corrects a manuscript and hopes to improve it. A. The student was proud to be the editor of the school newspaper. B. Meredith's journalistic knowledge came in handy when he was acceptedly given the job of editor of the Bulletin. C. It is undeniable that the magazine has gotten better since Elise became editor. 1. Unruly. Hard to rule or control. Lawless. A. Unruly behavior is prohibited at the pool. B. When he persisted in acting unruly, Ralph was fired from his job. C. His unruly actions were a menace to those who were trying to work. 2. Rival. Person who wants and tries to get the same thing as another. One who tries to equal or do better than another. A. The boxer devised an attack that would help him to be victorious over his young rival. B. Sherry didn't like to compete because she always thought her rival would win. C. Stedman and Son decided to migrate to an area where they would have fewer rivals. 3. Violent. Acting or done with strong rough force. A. Carefully, very carefully, we approached a violent man. B. Violent behavior is prohibited on school grounds. C. Vernon had a tendency to be violent when someone angered him. 4. Brutal. Coarse and savage. Like a brute. Cruel. A. Dozens of employees quit the job because the boss was brutal to them. B. The brutal track coach persisted in making the team work out all morning under the hot sun. C. Trying to catch the murderer, the detectives revealed that it had been an unusually brutal, violent crime. 5. Opponent. Person who is on the other side of a fight, game, or discussion. Person fighting, struggling, or speaking against another. A. The Russian chess player underestimated his opponent and lost. B. He was a bitter opponent of costly urban reform. C. Seeing his flabby opponent, Slugger was sure he would be victorious. Sex. Brawl. A noisy quarrel or fight. A. The journalist covered all the details of the brawl in the park. B. Larry dreaded a brawl with his father over finding a job. C. What started out as a polite discussion soon became a violent brawl. 7. Duplicate. An exact copy. Make an exact copy. Repeat exactly. A. Elliot tried to deceive Mrs. Held by making a duplicate of my paper. B. We duplicated the document so that everyone had a copy to study. C. The so-called expert did a mediocre job of duplicating the Van Gogh painting. 8. Vicious. Evil. Wicked. Savage. A. Lisa was unpopular because she was vicious to people she had just met. B. The vicious editor published false stories about people he disliked. C. Mr. Weiss was reluctant to talk about his vicious pit bull. 9. Whirling. Turning or swinging round and round. Spinning. A. The space vessel was whirling around before it landed on Earth. B. As they tried to lift the bulky piano, the movers went whirling across the living room. C. Because Angelo drank too much, he commenced to feel that everything was whirling around the bar. 10. Underdog. Person having the worst of any struggle. One who is expected to lose. A. Minority groups complain about being the underdogs in this century. B. I always feel sorry for the underdog in a street fight. C. The Jets were identified as underdogs, even though they had beaten the Los Angeles Rams earlier in the season. 11. Thrust. Push with force. A. Once the jet engine was ignited, it thrust the rocket from the ground. B. He had adequate strength to thrust himself through the locked door. C. Eve was in a terrible rage when she thrust herself into the room. 12. Bewildered. Confused completely. Puzzled. A. The lawyer was bewildered by his client's lack of interest in the case. B. His partner's weird actions left Jack bewildered. C. Bewildered by the sudden hazy weather, he decided not to go to the beach. Expand. Increase in size. Enlarge. Swell. A. We will expand our business as soon as we locate a new building. B. Prison laws against people who pollute the air must be expanded. C. Expanding the comic strips, the editor hoped that more people would buy his paper. 2. Alter. Make different, change, vary. A. I altered my typical lunch and had a steak instead. B. Dorothy agreed to alter my dress if I would reveal a scuff to her. C. It's absurd to spend money to alter that old candy store. 3. Mature. Ripe. Fully grown or developed. A. I could tell that Mitch was mature from the way he persisted in his work. B. Only through mature study habits can a person hope to gain knowledge. C. It is essential that you behave in a mature way in the business world. 4. Sacred. Worthy of respect. Holy. A. Her sacred medal had to be sold because the family was in urgent need of money. B. It was revealed by the journalist that the sacred temple had been torn down. C. Kate made a sacred promise to her parents never to miss a Sunday church service. 5. Revise. Change. Alter. Bring up to date. A. My family revises weekend plans when the weather turned hazy. B. The dictionary was revised and published in a more expensive edition. C. Under the revised rules, Shane was eliminated from competing. 6. Pledge. Promise. A. Before the grand jury, the sinister gangster pledged to tell the whole truth. B. Monty was reluctant to pledge his loyalty to his new girlfriend. C. Placed to discovering the facts, the journalist began to dig up new evidence for his readers. 7. Casual. Happening by chance. Not planned or expected. Not calling attention to itself. A. As the villain stole the money from the blind man, he walked away in a casual manner. B. The bachelor made a casual remark about the brawl in the back room. C. Following a casual meeting on the street, the bachelor renewed his friendship with the widow. 12. Pursue. Follow. Proceed along. A. We pursued the bicycle thief until he vanished from our vision. B. Ernie rode up the river, pursuing it to its source. C. The senior wanted to pursue urban affairs as his life's work. 9. Unanimous. Incomplete agreement. A. The class was unanimous in wanting to eliminate study halls. B. There has never been an election in our union that was won by a unanimous vote. C. The Senate, by a unanimous vote, decided to decrease taxes. 10. Fortunate. Having good luck. Lucky. A. Wesley was fortunate to have an adequate sum of money in the bank. B. It is fortunate that a famine did not affect our village. C. The underdog was fortunate enough to come out a winner. 11. Pioneer. One who goes first or prepares a way for others. A. My grandfather was a pioneer in selling wholesale products. B. England was a pioneer in building large vessels for tourists. C. In the 4th grade, I assembled a picture collection of great American pioneers. 12. Innovative. Fresh. Clever. Having new ideas. A. The innovative asked for the candy won many new customers. B. Everyone in our office praised the boss for his innovative suggestions. C. Nicole decided to alter her approach and become more innovative. 8. Slender, long and thin, limited, slight. A. Carlotta's slender figure made her look somewhat taller than she was. B. There was only a slender chance that she could conceal the truth. C. The slender thief was able to enter the apartment through the narrow window. 2. Surpass. Do better than, be greater than, excel. A. The machines of the 20th century surely surpassed those of earlier times. B. Most farmers believe that rural life far surpasses urban living. C. It is undeniable that a cold lemonade in July cannot be surpassed. 3. Vast. Very great, enormous. A. Daniel Boone explored vast areas that had never been settled. B. Our campus always seems vast to new students. C. Vast differences between the two sides were made clear in the debate. 4. Doubt. Not believe, not be sure of, feel uncertain about, lack of certainty. A. Scientists doubt that a total cure for cancer will be found soon. B. The question of whether he could survive the winter was left in doubt. C. We don't doubt that the tradition of marriage will continue. 5. Capacity. Amount of room or space inside. Largest amount that can be held by a container. A. A sign in the elevator stated that its capacity was 1,100 pounds. B. The gasoline capsule had a capacity of 500 gallons. C. So well-liked was the prominent speaker that the auditorium was filled to capacity when he began his lecture. Sex. Penetrate. Get into or through. A. We had to penetrate the massive wall in order to hang the mirror. B. Although Kenny tried to pound a nail into the rock with a hammer, he couldn't penetrate the hard surface. C. The thieves penetrated the bank security and stole the money. 7. Pierce. Go into, go through, penetrate. A. My sister is debating whether or not to get her ears pierced. B. I tried to ignore his bad violin playing, but the sound was piercing. C. Halloran violently pierced the skin of his rival, causing massive bleeding. 8. Accurate. Exactly right as a result of Carol Pains. A. Ushers took an accurate count of the people assembled in the theater. B. Emma's vision was so accurate that she didn't need glasses. C. In writing on the topic, Virgil used accurate information. 9. Microscope. Instrument with a lens for making objects larger so that one can see things more clearly. A. The students used a microscope to see the miniature insect. B. When young Oprah's birthday came around, her uncle gave her a microscope. C. Using a microscope, the scientist was able to probe into the habits of germs. 10. Grateful. Feeling gratitude, thankful. A. The majority of pupils felt grateful for Mr. Ashel's help. B. We were grateful that the gloomy weather cleared up on Saturday. C. In his letter, Waldo told how grateful he was for the loan. 11. Cautious. Very careful, never taking chances. A. Be cautious when you choose your opponent. B. Good authors are cautious not to exaggerate when they write. C. If the rain is falling in torrents, it is best to drive cautiously. 12. Confident. Firmly believing, certain, sure. A. George Emery was confident he could solve the conflict. B. When he lifted the burden, Scotty was confident he could carry it. C. Enid was confident she would do well as a nurse. And appeal, attraction, interest, to urge. A. Anything George could get at wholesale price had a great appeal for him. B. My boss always appeals to his employees to work swiftly and neatly. C. I found her clothing designs to be enormously appealing. 2. Addict. One who cannot break away from a habit or practice. Addicted, unable to break a habit. A. Because he was a heroin addict, it was essential for Callus to get the drug each day. B. Marcia became flabby because she was addicted to ice cream sodas. C. Those who take aspirins and other painkillers regularly should realize that they may become drug addicts too. 3. Wary, on one's guard against danger or trickery. Cautious. A. Millie's mother told her to be wary of strangers. B. After Orlando had been a victim of a cheat, he was wary of those who said they wanted to help him. C. Living in a polluted city makes you wary of the air you breathe. 4. Aware, knowing, realizing. A. Donna was aware of her tendency to exaggerate. B. It was some time before the police became aware of the brawl that was taking place on the street. C. The only way to gain knowledge is to be aware of everything around you. 5. Misfortune, bad luck. A. It was my misfortune that our car wasn't thoroughly checked before the trip through the desert. B. Being bitten by the vicious dog was quite a misfortune for Tommy. C. I had a misfortune of working for a greedy man. 6. Avoid. Keep away from, keep out of the way of. A. If you are fortunate, you can avoid people who are trying to deceive you. B. There was no way to avoid noticing her beautiful green eyes. C. Avoid getting into a brawl if you can. 7. Wretched. Very unsatisfactory. Miserable. A. I feel wretched after a night when I had scarcely slept. B. There was unanimous agreement that we had seen a wretched movie. C. Toby had wretched luck at the gambling tables. 8. Keg. Small barrel, usually holding less than 10 gallons. A. The corner saloon uses numerous kegs of beer on a Saturday night. B. Get a keg of nails. The carpenter shouted at me. C. It is obvious to me that the situation is filled with peril, a real powder keg if I ever saw one. 9. Nourish. Make or keep alive and well with food. Feed. Develop an attitude. A. A diet of nourishing food is served to every hospital patient. B. It was easy to detect that a skinny boy was not well nourished. C. After the operation, our doctor plans to nourish my mother with vitamins and good food. 10. Harsh. Rough to the touch, taste, eye, or ear. Sharp. A. The law is harsh on people who go around menacing others. B. Looking at his cigarette, Phil realized it was absurd to inhale such harsh smoke. C. Hazel altered her tone of voice from a harsh one to a soft tone. 11. Quantity, amount. I never neglect to carry a small quantity of money with me. B. Who believes that quantity is better than quality? C. A large quantity of meat is always stored in our freezer. 12. Opt. Choose or favor. Select. A. If you give me an ice cream choice, I'll opt for chocolate. B. Our cheerleaders plan to opt for new sweaters. C. On Friday, 3 of my buddies will opt to go into the Navy. 1. Tragedy. A very sad or terrible happening. A sad play. A. It was a tragedy that some pioneers were killed on their way west. B. If you had your choice between seeing a comedy or a tragedy, which play would you choose? C. Harry's enormous jealousy led to the tragedy in their family. 2. Pedestrian. Person who goes on foot. Walker. A. After driving the bus all day, Norris liked to be a pedestrian and take long casual walks in the evening. B. The police say it is urgent that pedestrians stay on sidewalk. C. I don't doubt that a pedestrian can get places faster than a car in downtown traffic. 3. Glance. To look at quickly, a quick look. A. The observant driver glanced at the accident at the side of the road. B. I took one glance at the wretched animal and turned away. C. Thompson identified the burglar after a glance at a photograph in the police station. 4. Budget. Estimate of the amount of money that can be spent for different purposes in a given time. A. We had to decrease the budget this year because our club is broke. B. The prominent executive presented their budget to the board of directors. C. When my mother draws up her budget for the week, she sets aside a gloomy sum for nourishing food. 5. Nimble, active and sure-footed, quick-moving, light and quick. A. Although Dusty was a miniature poodle, he was nimble enough to fight bigger dogs. B. The nimble policeman leaped over the fence to pursue the car thief. C. In his press conference, the commissioner was quite nimble in avoiding the difficult questions. 6. Manipulate, handle or treat skillfully. A. Scientists must know how to manipulate their microscopes. B. While Mr. Baird manipulated the puppets, Frank spoke to the audience. C. The wounded pilot manipulated the radio dial until he made contact. 7. Reckless, careless, heedless, wild. A. We must not ignore reckless drivers. We must take them off the road. B. After breaking his hand fighting recklessly, Arthur decided to be more cautious in the future. C. The reckless smoker ignited the entire forest. 8. Horrid, terrible, frightful. A. Jenny avoided staring at a horrid man's face. B. It is simply horrid the way cars pollute the air we breathe. C. When Mary was good, she was very good, but when she was bad, she was horrid. 9. Rave, talk widely. A. Shortly after taking a drug, the addict began to rave and foam at the mouth. B. Speedy raved that his car had the capacity to reach 120 miles per hour. C. Said he was confident that Mr. Stapp would rave about her essay. 10. Economical, not wasting money or time. A. I find it economical to shop in the large supermarkets. B. Marisa was praised for her economical management of the budget. C. The President made Congress aware of the need to be more economical. 11. Lubricate. Make machinery smooth and easy to work by putting on oil, grease, or similar substance. A. The bulky wheels of a railroad train must be lubricated each week. B. A large quantity of grease is needed to lubricate an airplane engine. C. When a watch is lubricated, it keeps more accurate time. 12. Ingenious, having great mental ability. Clever. A. Bernie devised an ingenious plan to cheat on his income tax. B. Rube Goldberg was a journalist who won fame for his ingenious inventions. C. The master spy had an ingenious way of passing secrets to the agent. Harvest. Gathering in of grain or other food crops. A. This year's harvest was adequate to feed all our people. B. The farmer decided to expand his fields so that he would get a bigger harvest. C. If the harvest is poor, there is always the possibility of a famine. 2. Abundant, more than enough, very plentiful. A. It is urgent that a hospital have an abundant supply of blood. B. An abundant harvest was predicted by the Secretary of Agriculture. C. In recent years, an abundant number of complaints have disturbed the telephone company. 3. Uneasy, restless, disturbed, anxious. A. Mrs. Spinner was uneasy about letting her son play in the vicinity of the railroad tracks. B. The treasurer was uneasy about a company's budget. C. Errol felt uneasy about a meeting even though he tried to act in a casual manner. 4. Calculate. Find out by adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. Figure. A. The cook had to calculate the number of diners to see whether he could decrease his order for meat. B. In order to see how expensive the car was, the buyer calculated the tax and other charges. C. I used an abacus to calculate my average. 5. Absorb. Take in or suck up liquids. Interest greatly. A. The sponge absorbed the beer which had leaked from the keg. B. Our bodies must absorb those things which will nourish them. C. I became absorbed in what the teacher was saying and did not hear the bell ring. 6. Estimate. Form a judgment or opinion about. Guess. A. A.J. Foyt estimated that the auto race would commence at 9 o'clock. B. I try to avoid making estimates on things I know nothing about. C. In your estimate, who will be victorious in this conflict? 7. Morsel. A small bite, mouthful, tiny amount. A. When Reynaldo went into the restaurant, he pledged to eat every morsel on his plate. B. Suzanne was reluctant to try even a morsel of the lobster. C. If you had a morsel of intelligence, you would be uneasy too. 8. Quota. Share of a total due, from or to a particular state, district, person, etc. A. The company revealed a quota of jobs reserved for college students. B. There was a quota placed on a number of people who could migrate here from China. C. Lieutenant Dugan doubted that a quota had been placed on the number of parking tickets each police officer was supposed to give out. 9. Threat. Sign or cause of possible evil or harm. A. There is always the horrid threat that my job will be abolished. B. It is absurd to think that a tiny bug could be a threat to a person. C. You can be arrested for making a threat against someone's life. 10. Ban. Prohibit. Forbid. A. The group unanimously voted to ban all people who are under 6 feet. B. Health officials are trying to expand their field in order to ban cigarette advertising from newspapers and magazines. C. I want to ban all outsiders from our discussion on security. 11. Panic. Unreasoning fear. Fear is spreading through a group of people so that they lose control of themselves. A. The leader of the lost group appealed to them not to panic. B. When the danger was exaggerated, a few people started to panic. C. The source of panic in the crowd was a man with a gun. 12. Appropriate. Fit. Set apart for some special use. At an appropriate time, the chief promised to reveal his plan. B. The lawn was an appropriate setting for Alien's wedding. C. After some appropriate prayers, the dinner was served. Read the 1. Emerge. Come out, come up, come into view. A. When the fight was over, the underdog emerged the winner. B. You have to be nimble to emerge from the narrow opening in 5 seconds. C. What emerged from the bottle was a blend of fruit juices. 2. Jagged, with sharp points sticking out, unevenly cut or torn. A. Being reckless, Rudy didn't watch out for the jagged steel. B. It's an enormous job to smooth the jagged edge of a fence. C. Leslie's hair was so jagged it was scarcely possible to tell that it had just been cut. 3. Linger. Stay on. Go slowly as if unwilling to leave. A. The aura didn't vanish, but lingered on for weeks. B. Some traditions linger on long after they have lost their meanings. C. After the campus closed for the summer, some students lingered on, reluctant to go home. 4. Ambush. A trap in which soldiers or other enemies hide to make a surprise attack. A. The ambush became a tragedy for those who attempted it because they were all killed. B. General Taylor raved about the ingenious ambush he planned. C. The troops lay in ambush in dense rows all through the night. 5. Crafty. Skillful in deceiving others. Sly. Tricky. A. His crafty mind prepared a comprehensive plan to defraud his partners. B. Leah didn't use brutal strength against his opponents, but he used his crafty bag of tricks to beat them. C. The Indians did not fall for the crafty ambush. 6. Defiant. Openly resisting, challenging. A. I refuse to be manipulated, the defiant young woman told her father. B. Professor Carlyle was defiant of any attempt to disprove his theory. C. Defiant of everyone, the attic refused to be helped. 7. Vigor. Active strength or force. A. Having a great deal of vigor, Jason was able to excel in all sports. B. Tom Thumb made up for size by having more vigor than most people. C. Putting all her vigor into the argument, Patsy persuaded me to let her drive. 8. Perish. Be destroyed. Die. A. Unless the plant gets water for its roots to absorb, it will perish. B. Custer and all his men perished at the Little Big Horn. C. We are trying to make sure that democracy will never perish from this earth. 9. Fragile. Easily broken, damaged, or destroyed. Delicate. A. The expensive glassware is very fragile. B. Things made out of plywood have a tendency to be fragile. C. On the box was a label that read, fragile, handled with care. 10. Captive. Prisoner. A. The Major was grateful to be released after having been held captive for 2 years. B. Until the sheriff got him out, the 2 boys were held captive in the barn. C. Placido Domingo can hold an audience captive with his marvelous singing voice. 11. Prosper. Be successful. Have good fortune. A. Howard Hughes owned numerous businesses and most of them prospered. B. No one should prosper from the misfortune of his or her friends. C. The annual report showed that the new business was prospering. 12. Devour. Eat hungrily, absorb completely, take in greedily. A. It was a horrid sight to see the lion devour the lamb. B. The animal doctor was pleased to see the terrier devour the dog food. C. My aunt devours 4 or 5 mystery books each week. 1. Plea. Request. Appeal. That which is asked of another. A. The employees turn no plea to their boss for higher pay. B. The president's plea to release the captives was denied by the enemy. C. In court today, the judge consented to the lawyer's plea for a light sentence. 2. Weary. Tired. A. I am weary of debating the same topic all day. B. The farmer grew weary of bringing in the harvest every year for the past 40 summers. C. Let me rest my weary bones here before the march commences. 3. Collide. Come together with force. A. When the 2 autos collided, the people in the fragile smaller car perished. B. Committees are exploring ways for keeping cars from colliding. C. In my estimate, the 2 bicycles collided at 5 o'clock. 4. Confirm. Prove to be true or correct. Make certain. A. The way Victor talked back to his mother confirmed that he was defiant. B. A probe of the criminal's background confirmed that he had been in jail numerous times. C. Years of research confirmed the theory that smoking is harmful. 5. Verify. Prove to be true. Confirm. A. A yes man is an employee who will verify everything the boss says. B. I was there as a witness to verify the charges against a bus driver. C. The data I turned in were verified by the clerks in our office. 6. Anticipate. Look forward to. Expect. A. We anticipate a panic if the news is revealed to the public. B. Harriet anticipated the approach of the mailman with fright. C. With his weird powers, Lenny was able to anticipate the ringing of the telephone. 7. Dilemma. Situation requiring a choice between 2 evils. A difficult choice. A. It is sensible not to panic in the face of a dilemma. B. Lottie faced the dilemma of whether to approve of the operation or not. C. In The Lady or the Tiger, the hero had the dilemma of which door to open. 8. Detour. A roundabout way. A. Pop was uneasy about taking the detour in this strange town. B. In order to evade city traffic, Anthony took a detour. C. The detour took us 10 miles off our course. 9. Merit. Goodness, worth, value. A. There is little merit in lying to those you love. B. My brother was promoted because of merit, not because of friendship. C. Do you think the tradition of marriage has any merit? 10. Transmit. Send over, pass on, pass along, live through. A. Garcia's message was transmitted to the appropriate people. B. Scientists can now transmit messages from space vessels to Earth. C. Our local radio station does not transmit broadcasts after midnight. 11. Relieve. Make less, make easier, reduce the pain of, replace, release, free. A. The pills relieved the pain from the wound I received in the conflict. B. A majority of the population wanted it relieved the mayor of his duty. C. The peace agreement relieved us of the threat of an attack. 12. Baffle. Be too hard to understand or solve. A. How so mediocre a player earned so much money baffled me. B. The topic of relativity is a baffling one. C. Sherlock Holmes would undoubtedly have been baffled by the way the crime was committed. Warden. Keeper, guard, person in charge of a prison. A. The warden found himself facing 200 defiant prisoners. B. A cautious warden always has to anticipate the possibility of an escape. C. When the journalist asked to meet with Warden Thomas, he said word that he was sick. 2. Acknowledge. Admit to be true. A. The experts reluctantly acknowledged that their estimate of food costs was not accurate. B. District Attorney Hogan got a man to acknowledge that he had lied in court. C. I hate living alone, the bachelor acknowledged. 3. Justice. Just conduct. Fair dealing. A. Daniel Webster abandoned any hope for justice once he saw the jury. B. Our pledge to the flag refers to liberty and justice for all. C. The warden acknowledged that justice had not been served in my case. 4. Delinquent. An offender, criminal, behind time. A. The youthful delinquent tried to avoid going to jail. B. All delinquents are banned from the student council at school. C. If you are a delinquent in paying your dues, you will be dropped from membership in the club. Sex. Deprive. Take away from by force. A. The poor man was deprived of a variety of things that money could buy. B. We were deprived of a good harvest because of the lack of rain. C. Living in a rural area, Bessie was deprived of concerts and plays. 7. Spouse. Husband or wife. A. When a husband prospers in his business, his spouse benefits also. B. The woman and her spouse relieved each other throughout the night at their child's bedside. C. May I bring my spouse to the office party? Dorinda asked. 8. Vocation. Occupation, business, profession, trade. A. Red Smith's vocation was as a journalist for the Times. B. Hiroko's vocation turned into his life's career. C. It is difficult to pick an appropriate vocation when you are in elementary school. 9. Unstable. Not firmly fixed, easily moved or overthrown. A. Some unstable people may panic when they find themselves in trouble. B. I could detect that the drinking glass was unstable and about to fall. C. Kathy's balance became unstable because she was very wary. 10. Homicide. A killing of one human being by another. Murder. A. The police were baffled as to who was responsible for the homicide. B. It took a crafty person to get away with that homicide. C. News of the homicide quickly circulated through our vicinity. 11. Penalize. Declared punishable by law or rule. Set a penalty for. A. The Detroit Lions were penalized 15 yards for their rough play. B. We were penalized for not following tradition. C. Mrs. Robbins penalized us for doing the math problem in ink. 12. Beneficiary. Person who receives benefit. A. I was the beneficiary of $8,000 when my grandfather died. B. When the paintings were sold, the millionaire's niece was the beneficiary. C. My brother was the beneficiary of excellent advice from his guidance counselor. 1. Reptile. A cold-blooded animal that creeps or crawls. Snakes, lizards, turtles, alligators, and crocodiles. A. The lizard is a reptile with a very slender body. B. Reptiles are kept in the museum's large hall. C. A crocodile is a reptile that is more nimble in the water than out of it. 2. Rarely. Seldom. Not often. A. You rarely hear adults raving about a movie they just saw. B. People are rarely frank with each other. C. I rarely attend the annual meetings of our family circle. 3. Forbid. Order someone not to do something. Make a rule against. A. Spitting on the floor is forbidden in public places. B. The law forbids drunken drivers to handle their autos. C. I forbid you to enter the dense jungle because of the peril that awaits you there. 4. Logical. Reasonable. Reasonably expected. A. It is logical to spend the minimum of needless things. B. In order to keep your car running well, it is only logical that you lubricate it regularly. C. I used a logical argument to persuade Lester to leave. 5. Exhibit. Display. Show. A. $1 million microscope is now on exhibit at our school. B. The bride and groom exhibited their many expensive gifts. C. Kim frequently exhibited her vast knowledge of baseball before complete strangers. 6. Proceed. Go on after having stopped. Move forward. A. Only those with special cars can proceed into the pool area. B. When the actor was late, the show proceeded without him. C. The senator proceeded to denounce those wholesalers who would deprive Americans of their quota of beef. 7. Precaution. Measures taken beforehand. Foresight. A. Detectives use precaution before entering the bomb's vicinity. B. We must take every precaution not to pollute the air. C. Before igniting the fire, the hunters took unusual precaution. 8. Extract. Pull out or draw out, usually with some effort. A. Dr. Fogel extracted my tooth in an amateur fashion. B. Chemists extracted the essential vitamins from the grain. C. Spencer was ingenious in extracting information from witnesses. 9. Prior. Coming before, earlier. A. Prior to choosing his life's vocation, Powell traveled to India. B. Myrna was unhappy prior to meeting her beau. C. Samson had been a strongman prior to having his hair cut. 10. Embrace. Hug one another, a hug. A. After having been rivals for years, the two men embraced. B. When Ellen's spouse approached, she slipped out of Doug's embrace. C. The young girl was bewildered when the stranger embraced her. 11. Valiant. Brave. Courageous. A. Robin Hood was valiant and faced his opponents without fear. B. The valiant paratroopers led the invasion. C. Grandma Joe had the ability to be valiant when the need arose. 12. Partial, not complete, not total. A. We made a partial listing of the urgently needed supplies. B. Mansis had a sale and a partial selection of his winter clothes. C. Using only a partial amount of his great speed, Jim Ryan surpassed all the other runners. Fierce, savage, wild. A. Barry was so fiercely angry that he thrust his hand through the glass. B. One must take appropriate precautions when approaching fierce dogs. C. He took one look at his fierce opponent and ran. 2. Detest. Dislike very much, hate. A. The world detests people who aren't valiant. B. Wally was certain that his girlfriend's parents would detest him because he had been a delinquent. C. I detest Chinese food, but I won't deprive you of the chance to eat it. 3. Sneer. Show scorn or contempt by looks or words. Scornful look or remark. A. The journalists were cautious about sneering at the Secretary of Defense. B. Wipe that sneer off your face, the dean told the delinquent. C. When offered a dime as a tip, the taxi driver sneered at his rider. 4. Scowl. Look angry by lowering the eyebrows. Frown. A. Laverne scowled at her mother when she was prohibited from going out. B. I dread seeing my father scowl when he gets my report card. C. Because of a defect in her vision, it always appeared that Polly was scowling. 5. Encourage. Give courage to, increase the confidence of. A. We encouraged the coach to devise a plan for beating Jefferson High. B. Some unstable persons need to be encouraged to find a vocation. C. A valiant person really needs to be encouraged. 6. Consider. Think about in order to decide. A. John considered whether a comprehensive report was necessary. B. Do you consider that race to be a bargain at a wholesale price? C. The wrestler was always considered to be the underdog in every match. 7. Vermin. Small animals that are troublesome or destructive. Fleas, bedbugs, lice, rats, and mice are vermin. A. One should try to eliminate all vermin from his or her house. B. Some reptiles eat vermin as their food. C. Although vermin are not always visible, they probably inhabit every house in the city. 8. Wail. Cry loud and long because of grief or pain. A. When tragedy struck, the old people began to wail. B. In some countries, the women are expected to wail loudly after their husband's day. C. When the Yankees lost the World Series, there was much wailing in New York. 9. Symbol. Something that stands for or represents something else. A. The statue outside the court building is considered a symbol of justice. B. Symbols for God are prohibited in the Jewish religion. C. An olive branch is a symbol of peace. 10. Authority. The right to command or enforce obedience. Power delegated to another. An author or volume that may be appealed to in support of an action or belief. A. No one should have the authority to dictate our career choice. B. Today a monarch does not have the authority he once enjoyed. C. The Supreme Court is entrusted with the authority to interpret our Constitution. 11. Neutral. On neither side of a quarrel or war. A. It is logical to remain neutral in a violent argument between spouses. B. Switzerland was a neutral country in World War II. C. Adolf did not reject the idea, but remained neutral about it. 12. Trifle. A small amount, little bit, something of little value. A. I ate a trifle for dinner rather than a vast meal. B. Walter spends only a trifle of his time in studying French. C. At our meetings, Alex always raises trifling objections on any new plan. 1. Architect. A person who makes plans for buildings and other structures. A maker, a creator. A. The famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright designed his buildings to blend with their surroundings. B. An architect must have a knowledge of the materials that will be used in his structures. C. General Eisenhower was the architect of victory over the Nazis in World War II. 2. Matrimony. Married life. Ceremony of marriage. A. Though matrimony is a holy estate, our local governments still collect a fee for the marriage license. B. Because of lack of money, the sweetness of their matrimony turns sour. C. Some bachelors find it very difficult to give up their freedom for the blessing of matrimony. 3. Baggage. The trunks and suitcases a person takes when he or she travels. An army's equipment. A. When Walt unpacked his package, he found he had forgotten his radio. B. Mrs. Modest checked their baggage at the station and took the children for a walk. C. The modern army cannot afford to be slowed up with heavy baggage. 4. Squander. Spend foolishly. Waste. A. Do not squander your money by buying what you cannot use. B. Because Freddie squandered his time watching television, he could not catch up on his homework. C. In his will, Mr. Larson warned his children not to squander their inheritance. 5. Abroad. Outside one's country, going around, far and wide. A. More people are going abroad for vacations. B. Is there any truth to the rumor abroad that school will be open all summer? C. The news of the president's illness spread abroad. Sex. Fugitive. A runaway. A. Paul was a fugitive from the slums, abandoned by all his friends. B. After escaping from prison, Tom led an unhappy life as a fugitive from the law. C. The fugitives from the unsuccessful revolution were captured. 7. Calamity. A great misfortune. Serious trouble. A. Failure in one task should not be regarded as a calamity. B. The death of her husband was a calamity that left Mrs. Marlowe numb. C. What is more dismal than one calamity following upon the heels of another? Pauper. A very poor person. A. The fire that destroyed his factory made Mr. Blemson a pauper. B. The richest man is a pauper if he has no friends. C. Since he was once a pauper himself, Max is willing to help the needy whenever he can. 9. Envy. Jealousy. The object of jealousy. To feel jealous. A. Millie's selection as prom queen made her the envy of every senior. B. My parents taught me not to envy anyone else's wealth. C. Our envy of Nora's skating ability is foolish, because with practice all of us could do as well. 10. Collapse. A breakdown. To fall in. Break down. Fail suddenly. Fall together. A. A heavy flood caused the bridge to collapse. B. His failure in chemistry meant the collapse of Bob's summer plans. C. Collapse the trays and store them in the closet. 11. Prosecute. Bring before a court. Follow up. Carry on. A. Drunken drivers should be prosecuted. B. The district attorney refused to prosecute a case for lack of evidence. C. The general prosecuted the war with vigor. 12. Bigamy. Having two wives or two husbands at the same time. A. Some people look upon bigamy as double trouble. B. Mr. Winkle, looking at his wife, thought bigamy was one crime he would never be guilty of. C. Some religious groups are in favor of bigamy, even though it is against the law of the land. Possible. Able to be done or happen. Able to be true. Able to be done or chosen properly. A. Call me tomorrow evening if possible. B. It is not possible for man to walk on the moon. C. Considering Melissa's weakness in writing, it is not possible for her to help you with your composition. 2. Compel. Force. Give by force. A. It is not possible to compel a person to love his fellow man. B. Heavy floods compelled us to a stop. C. Mr. Golan is a teacher who does not have to compel me to behave. 3. Awkward. Clumsy. Not well suited to use. Not easily managed. Embarrassing. A. Sally is very awkward in speaking to the class, but quite relaxed with her own group of friends. B. The handle of this bulky suitcase has an awkward shape. C. Slow down, because this is an awkward corner to turn. 4. Venture. A daring undertaking. An attempt to make money by taking business risks. To dare. To expose to risk. A. Ulysses was a man who would not reject any venture, no matter how dangerous. B. John Jacob Astor made his fortune by a lucky venture in animal furs. C. Medics venture their lives to save wounded soldiers. 5. Awesome. Causing or showing great fear, wonder, or respect. A. The towering mountains covered with snow are an awesome sight. B. Connie had such an awesome amount of work to complete before graduation she doubted she would have everything ready on time. C. The atom bomb is an awesome achievement for mankind. 6. Guide. A person who shows the way, to direct, to manage. A. Tourists often hire guides. B. The Indian guided the hunters through the forest. C. Use the suggestions in the handbook as a study guide. 7. Quench. Put an end to, drown or put out. A. Thaw will quench an oil fire. B. Only Pepsi-Cola will quench my thirst on such a hot day. C. He reads and reads and reads to quench your thirst for knowledge. Betray. Give away to the enemy. Be unfaithful. Mislead. Shout. A. Nick's awkward motions betrayed his nervousness. B. Without realizing what he was doing, the talkative soldier betrayed his Eunice plans. C. The child's eyes betrayed his fear of the fierce dog. 9. Utter. Speak. Make known. Express. A. When Violet accidentally stepped on the nail, she uttered a sharp cry of pain. B. Seth was surprised when he was told that he had uttered John's name in his sleep. C. When Mr. Fowler saw that his house had not been damaged in the fire, he uttered a sigh of relief. 10. Pacify. Make calm, quiet down, bring peace to. A. This toy should pacify that screaming baby. B. We try to pacify the woman who was angry at having to wait so long in line. C. Soldiers were sent to pacify the countryside. 11. Respond. Answer. React. A. Greg responded quickly to the question. B. My dog responds to every comment I give him. C. Mrs. Cole responded to the medicine so well that she was better in 2 days. 12. Beckon. Signal by a motion of the hand or head. Attract. A. Jack beckoned to me to follow him. B. The delicious smell of fresh bread beckoned a hungry boy. C. To see beckons us to adventure. 1. Despite. In spite of. A. The player continued in the game despite his injuries. B. Despite his size, Ted put up a good fight. C. We won the game by a shutout, despite the fact that our team got only 3 hits. 2. Disrupt. Upset. Cause to break down. A. Pam's clowning disrupted the class every day. B. The storm disrupted the telephone lines throughout the area. C. The collapse of the government disrupted the services we took for granted, such as mail delivery. 3. Rash. A breaking out with many small red spots on the skin. Outbreak of many instances with a short time. Too hasty or careless. A. The report of a rash of burglars in a neighborhood was exaggerated. B. Poison ivy caused the rash. C. It is rash to threaten an action you cannot carry out. 4. Rapid. Very quick, swift. A. We took a rapid walk around the camp before breakfast. B. If you work rapidly, you can complete the test in 20 minutes. C. The response to the surprise attack was a rapid retreat. 5. Exhaust. Empty completely, use up, tire out. A. To exhaust the city's water supply would be a calamity. B. The long climb to the top of the mountain exhausted our strength. C. If we continue to squander our money recklessly, our treasury will soon be exhausted. 6. Severity. Strictness, harshness, plainness, violence. A. The severity of the teacher was not appreciated by the pupils until they reached the final examinations. B. The severity of the Black Plague can be imagined from the fact that 30% of the population died. C. Rosita complained to the principal about the severity of the punishment that the student court gave to her. 7. Feeble. Weak. A. We heard a feeble cry from the exhausted child. B. The guard made a feeble attempt to explain why he had taken the wrong turn. C. The feeble old man collapsed on the sidewalk. 8. Unite. Join together, become one. A. The 13 colonies united to form one country. B. Matrimony united 2 famous Virginia families. C. America and Russia were united against a common enemy in World War II. 9. Cease. Stop. A. Cease trying to do more than you can. B. The whispering in the audience ceased when the curtain went up. C. When you cease making war, you can then begin to pacify the small villages that the enemy controls. 10. Thrifty. Saving, cheerful in spending, thriving. A. By being thrifty, Miss Benson managed to get along on her small income. B. A thrifty person knows that squandering money can lead to financial calamity. C. By thrifty use of their supplies, the shipwrecked sailors were able to survive for weeks. 11. Miserly. Stingy, like a miser. A. Being miserly with our natural resources will help us to live longer on this earth. B. A miserly person rarely has any friends. C. Silas Marner abandoned his miserly habits when Epi came into his life. 12. Monarch. King or queen, ruler. A. There are few modern nations that are governed by monarchs. B. The monarchs of the ancient Rome considered themselves descendants of the gods. C. Men sometimes believe that there are monarchs in their own homes. Outlaw. An exile, an outcast, or criminal to declare unlawful. A. Congress has outlawed the sale of certain drugs. B. The best-known outlaw of the American West was Jesse James. C. An animal that is cast out by the rest of the pack is known as an outlaw. 2. Promote. Raise in rank or importance, help to grow or develop, help to recognize. A. Students who pass the test will be promoted to the next grade. B. An accurate knowledge of other cultures will promote goodwill among people of different backgrounds. C. Several bankers invested an enormous sum of money to promote the idea. 3. Undernourished, not sufficiently fed. A. The undernourished child was so feeble he could hardly walk. B. There is evidence that when wealthy people are undernourished because they do not eat sufficient quantities of healthful foods. C. An infant who drinks enough milk will not be undernourished. 4. Illustrate. Make clear or explain by stories, examples, comparisons, or other means. Serve as an example. A. To illustrate how the heart sends blood around the body, the teacher describes how a pump works. B. This exhibit will illustrate the many uses of atomic energy. C. These stories illustrate Mark Twain's serious side. 5. Disclose. Uncover, make known. A. The lifting of the curtain discloses a beautiful winter scene. B. This letter discloses the source of his fortune. C. Samson, reclining in the arms of Delilah, disclosed that the secret of his strength was in his long hair. Sex, excessive, too much, too great, extreme. A. Pollution of the atmosphere is an excessive price to pay for so-called progress. B. Numerous attempts have been made to outlaw jet planes that make excessive noise. C. The inhabitants of Arizona are unaccustomed to excessive rain. 7. Disaster. An event that causes much suffering or loss, a great misfortune. A. The hurricane's violent winds brought disaster to the coastal town. B. The San Francisco earthquake and the Chicago fire are two of the greatest disasters in American history. C. The coach considered the captain's injury a disaster for the team. 8. Censor. Person who tells others how they ought to behave. One who changes box, place in other words, so as to make him acceptable to the government. To make changes in. A. Some governments, national and local, censor books. B. The censor felt that fiction as well as other works should receive the stamp of approval before they were put on sale. C. Any mention of the former Prime Minister was outlawed by the censor. 9. Culprit. Offender. Person guilty of a fault or crime. A. Who is the culprit who has eaten all those strawberries? B. The police caught a culprit with stolen articles in his car. C. In the Sherlock Holmes story, the culprit turned out to be a snake. 10. Juvenile. Young, youthful, of or for boys and girls, a young person. A. My sister is known in the family as a juvenile delinquent. B. Paula is still young enough to wear juvenile fashions. C. Ellen used to devour Cinderella and other stories for juveniles. 11. Bait. Anything, especially food, used to attract fish or other animals so that they may be caught. Anything used to tempt or attract a person to begin something he or she does not wish to do. To put bait on a hook or in a trap. Torment by unkind or annoying remarks. A. The secret of successful trout fishing is finding the right bait. B. How can you expect to bait Mike into running for the class presidency when he has already refused every appeal? C. Eddie is a good hunter because he knows the merit of each kind of bait for different animals. 12. Insist. Keep firmly to some demand, statement, or position. A. Mother insists that we do our homework before we start the long telephone conversations. B. She insisted that Sal was not jealous of his twin brother. C. The doctor insisted that Martin get plenty of rest after the operation. Blunder. Stupid mistake. To make a stupid mistake. Stumble. So clumsily. A. The exhausted boy blundered through the woods. B. Bert's awkward apology could not make up for his serious blunder. C. The general's blunder forced his army to a rapid retreat. 3. Daze. Confused. A. The severity of the blow dazed the fighter and led to his defeat. B. When he ventured out of the house at night, the child was dazed by the noise and the lights. C. Dazed by the flashlight, Maria blundered down the steps. 4. Mourn. Grieve. Feel or show sorrow for. A. Sarah did not cease to mourn her lost friend. B. The entire city mourned for the people lost in the calamity. C. We need not mourn over trifles. 5. Subside. Sink to a lower level. Grow less. A. After the excessive rain stopped, the floodwaters subsided. B. The waves subsided when the winds ceased to blow. C. Danny's anger subsided when the culprit apologized. 6. Maim. Cripple, disable, cause to lose an arm, leg, or other part of the body. A. Auto accidents maim many persons each year. B. Though he went through an awesome experience in that crash, Fred was not seriously maimed. C. Car manufacturers insist that seatbelts can prevent the maiming of passengers in the event of a crash. 7. Comprehend. Understand. A. If you can use a word correctly, there is a good chance that you comprehend it. B. You need not be a pauper to comprehend fully what hunger is. C. My parents say that I cannot comprehend today's music. 8. Command. Praise. Hand over for safekeeping. A. Everyone commended the mayor's thrifty suggestion. B. Florence commended the baby to her aunt's care. C. The truth is that we all like to be commended for good work. 9. Final. Coming last. Deciding. A. The final week of the term is rapidly approaching. B. George was commended for his improvement in the final test. C. The final censor of our actions is our own conscience. 10. Exempt. Make free from. Free from. A. Our school exempts bright pupils from final exams. B. School property is exempt from most taxes. C. Juvenile offenders are not exempt from punishment. 11. Vain. Having too much pride in one's ability, looks, etc. Of no use. A. Josephine is quite vain about her beauty. B. To be perfectly frank, I do not see what she has to be vain about. C. Brian made numerous vain attempts to reach the doctor by telephone. 12. Repetition. Actor doing or saying again. A. The repetition of new words in this book will help you to learn them. B. Any repetition of such unruly behavior will be punished. C. After a repetition of his costly mistake, Joe was fired from his job. Depict. Represent by drawing or painting. Describe. A. The artist and the author both try to depict the sunset's beauty. B. Mrs. Salinger depicted the juvenile character with great accuracy. C. The extent of the disaster can scarcely be depicted in words. 2. Mortal. Sure to die sometime. Pertaining to a man. Deadly. Pertaining to or causing death. A. We must live with the knowledge that all living creatures are mortal. B. His rash venture brought him to a mortal illness. C. The two monarchs were mortal enemies. 3. Novel. New, strange, a long story with characters and plot. A. The architect created a novel design that pleased everyone. B. The novel plan caused some unforeseen problems. C. Robert was commended by his teacher for the excellent report on the American novel The Grapes of Wrath. 4. Occupant. Person in possession of a house, office, or possession. A. A feeble old woman was the only occupant of the shack. B. The road was closed, but the occupant of the estate was penniless. C. The occupant of the car beckoned us to follow him. 5. Appoint. Decide on, set a time or place, choose for a position, equip or furnish. A. The library was appointed as the best place for the urgent meeting. B. Though Mr. Thompson was appointed to a high position, he did not neglect his old friends. C. The occupant of the well-appointed guest room considered himself quite fortunate. Site. Position or place of anything. A. The agent insisted that the house had one of the best sites in town. B. We were informed by our guide that a monument would be built on the site of the historic battle. C. For the site of the new school, the committee preferred an urban location. 8. Quote. Repeat exactly the words of an author or a passage from a book. That is, something that is repeated exactly. Give the price of a quotation. A. She often quotes her spouse to prove a point. B. The stockbroker quoted gold at $1 off yesterday's closing price. C. Biblical quotes offer a unique opportunity for study. 9. Verse. A short division of a chapter in the Bible. A single line or a group of lines of poetry. A. The verse from the Bible that my father quoted most frequently was, Love thy neighbor as thyself. B. Several verses of a religious nature were contained in the document. C. Though it is not always easy to comprehend, Shakespeare's verse has merit that is worth the toil. 10. Morality. The right or wrong of an action. Virtue. A set of rules or principles of conduct. A. The editor spoke on the morality of bugging the quarters of a political opponent. B. We rarely consider the morality of our daily actions, though that should occupy a high position in our thinking. C. Kenny's unruly behavior has nothing to do with his lack of morality. 11. Roam. Wander. Go about with no special plan or aim. A. In the days of the Wild West, outlaws roamed the country. B. A variety of animals once roamed our land. C. The bachelor promised his girlfriend that he would roam no more. 12. Attract. Draw to oneself, win the attention and liking of. A. The magnet attracted the iron particles. B. Adventure was the thrill that attracted the famous mountain climber to the jagged peak. C. A glimpse into the brightly colored room attracted the children's attention. Commuter. One who travels regularly, especially over a considerable distance between home and work. A. The average commuter would welcome a chance to live in the vicinity of his or her work. B. Have your commuter's ticket verified by the conductor. C. A novel educational program gives college credit to commuters who listen to a lecture while they are traveling to work. 2. Confine. Keep in. Hold in. A. The fugitive was caught and confined to jail for another 2 years. B. A virus that was circulating in the area confined Al to his house. C. Polio confined President Roosevelt to a wheelchair. 3. Idle. Not doing anything, not busy, lazy, without any good reason or cause, to waste time. A. Any attempt to study was abandoned by the student, who idled away the morning. B. The idle hours of a holiday frequently provide the best time to take stock. C. Do not deceive yourself into thinking that these are just idle rumors. 4. Idol. A thing, usually an image, that is worshipped, a person or thing that is loved very much. A. This small metal idol illustrates the art of ancient Rome. B. John Wayne was the idol of many young people who like cowboy movies. C. Scientists are still trying to identify this idol found in the ruins. 5. Jest. Joke, fun, mockery, thing to be laughed at. To joke, poke fun. A. Though he spoke in jest, Mark was undoubtedly giving us a message. B. Did not jest about matters of morality. C. In some quarters, honesty and hard work have become subjects of jest. Sex. Patriotic. Loving one's country, showing love and loyal support for one's country. A. It is patriotic to accept your responsibilities to your country. B. The patriotic attitude of the captive led him to refuse to cooperate with the enemy. C. Nathan Hale's patriotic statement has often been quoted. I regret that I have but one life to give for my country. 7. Dispute. Disagree, oppose, try to win, a debate or disagreement. A. Our patriotic soldiers disputed every inch of ground during the battle. B. The losing team disputed the contest up until the final minute of play. C. Many occupants of the building were attracted by the noisy dispute. 8. Valor. Bravery, courage. A. The valor of the Vietnam veterans deserves the highest commendation. B. No one will dispute the valor of Washington's men at Valley Forge. C. The fireman's valor in rushing into the flaming house saved the occupants from a hard fate. 9. Lunatic. Crazy person, insane, extremely foolish. A. Only a lunatic would willingly descend into the monster's cave. B. Several lunatic ideas persist even though they have been rejected by all logical minds. C. My roommate has some lunatic ideas about changing the world. 10. Vein. Mood. A blood vessel that carries blood to the heart. A crack or seam in a rock filled with a different mineral. A. A vein of lunacy seemed to run in the family. B. Mario's wrist was severely cut by the rock, causing his vein to bleed heavily. C. Explorations disclosed the rich vein of copper in the mountain. 11. Fertile. Bearing seeds of fruit, producing much of anything. A. Chicks hatch from fertile eggs. B. The loss of their fertile lands threw the farmers into a panic. C. A fertile mind need never be uneasy about finding life uneventful. Fertile. Bearing seeds of fruit, producing much of anything. A. Chicks hatch from fertile eggs. B. The loss of their fertile lands threw the farmers into a panic. C. A fertile mind need never be uneasy about finding life uneventful. Refer. Hand over, send, direct, or turn for information, help, or action. Refer to. Direct attention to or speak about. Assign to or think of as caused by. A. Let us refer the dispute to the dean. B. Our teacher referred us to the dictionary for the meanings of the difficult words in the novel. C. The speaker referred to a verse in the Bible to support his theory. 2. Distress. Great pain or sorrow, misfortune, dangerous or difficult situation, to cause pain or make unhappy. A. The family was in great distress over the accident that maimed Kenny. B. My teacher was distressed by the dismal performance of our class on the final examination. C. Long unscheduled delays at a station caused distress to commuters. 3. Diminish. Make or become smaller in size and other importance. A. The excessive heat diminished as the sun went down. B. Our diminishing supply of food was carefully wrapped and placed with the baggage. C. The latest news from the battlefront confirms the report of diminishing military activity. 4. Maximum. Greatest amount, greatest possible. A. Chris acknowledged that the maximum he had ever walked in one day was 15 miles. B. We would like to exhibit this rare collection to the maximum number of visitors. C. The committee anticipated the maximum attendance of the first day of the performance. 5. Flee. Run away. Go quickly. A. The fleeing outlaws were pursued by the police. B. One could clearly see the clothes fleeing before the wind. C. The majority of the students understand that they cannot flee from their responsibilities. Sex. Vulnerable. Capable of being injured. open to attack, sensitive to criticism, influences, etc. A. Achilles was vulnerable only in his heel. B. The investigator's nimble mind quickly located the vulnerable spot in the defendant's alibi. C. A vulnerable target for the thieves is a solitary traveler. 7. Signify. Mean. Be a sign of. Make known by signs, words, or actions. Have importance. A. O. Signifies surprise. B. A gift of such value signifies more than a casual relationship. C. The word fragile is stamped on a carton signifies that it must be handled with caution. 8. Mythology. Legends or stories that usually attempt to explain something in nature. A. The story of Proserpina and Ceres explaining the seasons is typical of Greek mythology. B. From a study of mythology we can conclude that the ancients were concerned with the wonders of nature. C. Ancient mythology survives to this day in popular expressions such as Herculean task or Apollo project. 9. Colleague. Associate, fellow worker. A. The captain gave credit for the victory to his valiant colleagues. B. Who would have predicted that our pedestrian colleague would one day win the Nobel Prize for medicine? C. We must rescue our colleagues from their wretched condition. 10. Torment. Cause very great pain to. Worry or annoy very much. Cause a very great pain. Very great pain. A. Persistent headaches tormented him. B. The illustrations in our history text show the torment suffered by the victims of the French Revolution. C. The logical way to end the torment of doubt over the examination is to spend adequate time in study. 11. Provide. To supply. To state as a condition. To prepare for or against some situation. A. How can we provide job opportunities for all our graduates? B. Hale said he would bring the ball provided he would be allowed to pitch. C. The government is obligated, among other things, to provide for the common welfare and secure the blessings of peace for all citizens. 12. Loyalty. Faithfulness to a person, government, idea, custom, or the like. A. The monarch referred to his knight's loyalty with pride. B. Nothing is so important to transmit to the youth as the sacredness of loyalty to one's country. C. Out of a sense of loyalty to his friends, Michael was willing to suffer torment, and he therefore refused to identify his colleagues in the plot. 1. Volunteer. Person who enters any service of his or her own free will to offer one's services. A. The draft has been abolished and replaced by a volunteer army. B. Terry did not hesitate to volunteer for the most difficult jobs. C. The boys were reluctant to volunteer their services to help clean up after the dance. 2. Prejudice. An opinion formed without taking time and care to judge fairly, to harm or injure. A. Prejudice against minority groups will linger on as long as people ignore the facts. B. Eliminating prejudice should be among the first concerns of a democracy. C. The witness's weird behavior prejudiced Nancy's case. 3. Shrill. Having a high pitch, high and sharp in sound, piercing. A. Despite their small size, crickets make very shrill noises. B. The shrill whistle of the policeman was warning enough for the fugitive to stop in his tracks. C. A shrill torrent of insults poured from the mouth of the shrieking women. 4. Jolly. Merry, full of fun. A. The jolly old man, an admitted bigamist, had forgotten to mention his first wife to his new spouse. B. When the jolly laughter subsided, the pirates began the serious business of dividing the gold. C. Are you aware that a root-suited gentleman with a jolly twinkle in his eyes is stuck in a chimney? 5. Witty. Cleverly amusing. A. Mr. Carlson's witty introduction qualifies him as a first-rate speaker. B. Phase 2 is slow to appreciate such witty remarks. C. The lawyer tried to prosecute a case by being witty and thereby entertaining the jury. 6. Hinder. Hold back, make hard to do. A. Deep mud hinder travel in urban centers. B. The storm hindered the pursuit of the fleeing prisoners. C. Mona's gloomy nature hinders her relationships with other people. 7. Lecture. Speech or plan talk, a scolding to a scold. A. Rarely have I heard a lecture with such clear illustrations. B. Harry's father lectured him on the ills and perils of drug addiction. C. A famous journalist delivered a lecture on prejudice in the press. 8. Abuse. Make bad use of, use wrongly, treat badly, scold very severely, bad or young use, bad treatment. A. Those who abuse the privileges of the honor system will be penalized. B. The editor apologized for the abuse we had suffered as a result of his article. C. Brutal abuse of children in the orphanage was disclosed by the investigation. 9. Mumble. Speak indistinctly. A. Richie mumbled his awkward apology. B. This speech course will encourage you to stop mumbling and to speak more distinctly. C. When the witness continued to mumble, the judge asked him to speak up. 10. Mute. Silent, unable to speak. A. The usually defiant child stood mute before the principal. B. People are no longer willing to remain mute on the subject of abuse of gun control. C. The horror of the famine left the inhabitants of the land mute with their tragic memories. 11. Wad. Small soft mass. To roll or crush into a small mass. A. To decrease the effects of the pressure that ever put wads of cotton in his ears. B. The officer challenged George to explain the wad of $50 which he had in his pocket. C. Because the automatic firing mechanism was defective, the hunter had to wad the powder into the gun by hand. 12. Retain. Keep, remember, employ by payment of a fee. A. Despite her lack of funds, Mrs. Rayleigh retained a detective to follow her spouse. B. China dishes have the unique quality of retaining heat longer than metal pans. C. Like the majority of people, I can retain the tune, but not the words of a song. Candidate. Person who is proposed for some office or honor. A. We can have a maximum of 4 candidates for the office of President. B. Each candidate for mayor seemed confident he would be victorious. C. The candidate took every precaution to avoid mentioning his opponent by name. 2. Proceed. Go before, come before, be higher in rank or importance. A. Lyndon Johnson preceded Richard Nixon as president. B. In a gallant gesture, Ronnie allowed Amanda's name to precede his in the program listing. C. A prominent speaker preceded the ceremony of the granting of the diplomas. 3. Adolescent. Growing up to manhood or womanhood. Youthful. A person from about 13 to 22 years of age. A. In his adolescent years, the candidate claimed he had undergone many hardships. B. There is a fiction abroad that every adolescent is opposed to tradition. C. Our annual Lock Festival attracts thousands of adolescents. 4. Coeducational. Having to do with educating both sexes in the same school. A. There has been a massive shift to coeducational schools. B. Coeducational institutions, once thought to have a disruptive effect, have been found to be beneficial. C. In choosing a college, Ned leans toward schools that are coeducational. 5. Radical. Going to the root, fundamental, extreme, person with extreme opinions. A. The tendency to be vicious and cruel is a radical fault. B. We observe that the interest in radical views is beginning to subside. C. Because Richard was a radical, the Conservative Party would not accept him as a candidate. Sex. Spontaneous. Of one's own free will, natural, on the spur of the moment, without rehearsal. A. The vast crowd burst into spontaneous cheering at a skillful play. B. Be cautious with these oily rags, because they can break out in spontaneous flame. C. William's spontaneous resentment at the mention of his sister was noted by the observant teacher. 7. Skim. Remove from the top, move lightly over, glide along, read hastily or carelessly. A. This will be more nourishing if you skim off the fat. B. I caught a glimpse of Mark and Marge skimming over the ice. C. Detective Corby, assigned to the homicide, was skimming through the victim's book of addresses. 8. Vaccinate. Inoculate with vaccine as a protection against smallpox and other diseases. A. There has been a radical decline in polio since doctors began to vaccinate children with the Salk vaccine. B. The general population has accepted the need to vaccinate children against the once dreaded disease. C. Numerous examples persist of people who have neglected to have their infants vaccinated. 9. Untidy. Not neat, not in order. A. The bachelor's quarters were most untidy. B. We must start a cleanup campaign to keep the campus from being so untidy. C. Finding the house in such an untidy condition baffled us. 10. Utensil. Container or tool used for practical purposes. A. Several utensils were untidily tossed about the kitchen. B. Edward's baggage contained all the utensils he would need on the camping trip. C. Some people are so old-fashioned that they reject the use of any modern utensil. 11. Sensitive. Receiving impressions readily. Easily affected or influenced. Easily hurt or offended. A. The eye is sensitive to light. B. From the experiment we may conclude that mercury in a thermometer is sensitive to changes in temperature. C. James is sensitive about his wretched handwriting. 12. Temperate. Not very hot and not very cold. Moderate. A. The United States is mostly in the North Temperate Zone. B. All students receive the appeal to be temperate and not to jump to conclusions in judging the new grading system. C. Mrs. Rawlins commended her class for their temperate attitude when she announced the extra assignment. 1. Vague. Not definite, not clear, not distinct. A. Joe's position was vague because he wanted to remain neutral in the dispute. B. When asked her opinion, Gladys was tactful enough to give a vague answer that did not hurt anyone. C. The vague shape in the distance proved to be nothing more weird than a group of trees. 2. Elevate. Raise. Lift up. A. Private Carbo was elevated to higher rank for his valor. B. Reading a variety of good books elevates the mind. C. The candidate spoke from an elevated platform. 3. Lottery. A scheme for distributing prizes by lot or chance. A. The merit of a lottery is that everyone has an equal chance. B. We thought that a lottery was an absurd way of deciding who should be the team captain. C. The rash young man claimed the lottery prize only to find he had misread his number. 4. Finance. Money matters. To provide money for. A. The new employee boasted of his skill in finance. B. Frank circulated the rumor that his uncle would finance his way through college. C. Mrs. Gelt retained a lawyer to handle her finances. 5. Obtain, get, be in use. A. An adolescent is finding it increasingly difficult to obtain a good job without a diploma. B. David obtained accurate information about college from his guidance counselor. C. Because this is a coeducational school, different rules obtain here. Sex, cinema, moving picture. A. Censors have developed a rating system for the cinema. B. Today's cinema is full of homicides and violence. C. A bestseller is often the source of cinema stories. 7. Event, happening, important happening, result or outcome, one item in a program of sports. A. The greatest event in Ellie's life was winning the $50,000 lottery. B. We chose our seat carefully and then awaited the shot put event. C. There is merit in gaining wisdom even after the event. A. Discard, throw aside. A. Anna casually discarded one boyfriend after another. B. Confident that he held a winning hand, Slim refused to discard anything. C. Asked why he had discarded his family traditions, Mr. Mansell remained mute. 9. Soar, fly upward or at a great height. Aspire. A. We watched a soaring eagle skim over the mountain peak. B. An ordinary man cannot comprehend such soaring ambition. C. The senator's hopes for victory soared after his television appearance. 10. Subsequent, later, following, coming after. A. Subsequent events prove that Sloan was right. B. Further explanations will be presented in subsequent lectures. C. Though the enemy forces resisted at first, they subsequently learned that their efforts were in vain. 11. Relate, tell, give an account of, connecting thought or meaning. A. The trailer related his adventures with some exaggeration. B. After viewing the cinema's latest show, the observant student was able to relate every detail. C. Will you say that misfortune is related to carelessness? 12. Stationary, having a fixed station or place, standing still, not moving, not changing in size, number, or activity. A. A factory engine is stationary. B. The population of our town has been stationary for a decade. C. Caught in the middle of traffic, the frightened pedestrian remains stationary in the busiest street. Prompt, quick, on time, done at once, to cause someone to do something, remind someone of the words or actions needed. A. Be prompt in assembling your baggage. B. Terry's caution prompted him to ask many questions before he consented. C. Larry was confident he knew his lines well enough not to need any prompting. 2. Hasty, quick, hurried, not well thought out. A. A hasty glance convinced him that he was being followed. B. Rather than make a hasty decision, Mr. Torres rejected the offer. C. Mary apologized for the hasty visit. 3. Scorch, burn slightly, dry up, criticize sharply. A. The hot iron scorched the tablecloth. B. Farmers reported that a wheat was being scorched by the fierce rays of the sun. C. Mr. Reagan gave the class a scorching lecture on proper behavior in the cafeteria. 4. Tempest, violent storm with much wind, a violent disturbance. A. The tempest drove the ship on the rocks. B. Following the weather report of the approaching tempest, we were prompted to seek immediate shelter. C. When Mr. Couch saw that a tempest was brewing over the issue, he hastily called a meeting. 5. Soothe, quiet, calm, comfort. A. With an embrace, the mother soothed her child. B. Heat soothes some aches, cold soothes others. C. Rosalie's nerves were soothed by the soft music. 6. Sympathetic, having or showing kind feelings toward others, approving, enjoying the same things and getting along well together. A. George Cruz was sympathetic to the lawyer's plea for mercy. B. Father was fortunately sympathetic to my request to use the car on weekends. C. We were all sympathetic to Suzanne over her recent misfortune. 7. Redeem, buy back, pay off, carry out, set free, make out for. A. The property on which money has been lent is redeemed when the loan is paid back. B. My family was relieved to hear that the mortgage had been redeemed. C. Mr. Franklin promptly redeemed his promise to help us in time of need. 8. Resume, begin again, go on, take again. A. Resume reading when we left off. B. Those standing may resume their seats. C. The violinists resume playing after the intermission. 9. Harmony, situation of getting on well together or going well together, sweet or musical sound. A. We hope the incident would not disrupt the harmony that existed between the brothers. B. I am sympathetic to Aaron because his plans are in harmony with mine. C. We responded to the harmony of the song by humming along. 10. Refrain, hold back. A. Refrain from making hasty promises. B. Milo could not refrain from laughing at a jest. C. If you want to be heard, you must refrain from mumbling. 11. Illegal, not lawful, against the law. A. It is illegal to reveal the names of juvenile delinquents. B. Bigamy is illegal in the United States. C. Mr. Worthington's illegal stock manipulations led to his jail sentence. 12. Narcotic, drug that produces drowsiness, sleep, dullness, or an insensible condition and lessens pain by dulling the nerves. A. Opium is a powerful narcotic. B. We do not have adequate knowledge of the narcotic properties of these substances. C. The doctor prescribed a narcotic medicine to soothe the patient's suffering. Heir, person who has a right to someone's property after that one dies. Person who inherits anything. A. Though Mr. Sloan is the heir to a gold mine, he lives like a miser. B. The monarch died before he could name an heir to the throne. C. It is essential that we locate the rightful heir at once. 2. Majestic, grand, noble, dignified, kingly. A. The lion is the most majestic creature of the jungle. B. In Greek mythology, Mount Olympus was the majestic home of the gods. C. The graduates marched into the auditorium to the music of the majestic symphony. 3. Dwindle, become smaller and smaller, shrink. A. Our supply of unpolluted water has dwindled. B. With no visible signs of their shop, hopes of the men's safety dwindled with each passing hour. C. After the furious tempest, the dwindling chances of finding the raft vanished entirely. 4. Surplus, amount over and above what is needed. Excess, extra. A. The bank keeps a large surplus of money in reserve. B. Surplus wheat, cotton, and soybeans are shipped abroad. C. No mortal ever considers that he has a surplus of good things. 5. Traitor, person who betrays his or her country, or friend, duty, etc. A. The patriot sneered when asked to stand on the same platform with a man who was accused of being a traitor. B. No villain is worse than a traitor who betrays his country. C. Do not call him a traitor unless you can verify the charge. 6. Deliberate, to consider carefully, intended, done on purpose, slow and careful as though allowing time to decide what to do. A. Rico's excuse was a deliberate lie. B. My grandfather works with deliberate steps. C. Just Erica deliberated for a week before making his decision known. 7. Vandal. Person who willfully or ignorantly destroys or damages beautiful things. A. Adolescent vandals wrecked the cafeteria. B. The vandals deliberately ripped the paintings from the wall. C. We could scarcely believe the damage caused by the vandals. 8. Drought. Long period of dry weather, lack of rain, lack of water, dryness. A. Because of the drought, some farmers began to migrate to more fertile regions. B. In time of drought, the corpse becomes scorched. C. As the drought wore on, people began to grumble against those who had squandered water when it was more plentiful. 9. Abide. Accept and follow out. Remain faithful to, dwell, endure. A. The team decided unanimously to abide by the captain's ruling. B. Senator Irvin abided by his promise not to allow demonstrations in the committee room. C. My mother cannot abide dirt and vermin. 10. Unify. Unite. Make or form into one. A. The novel traces the developments that unified the family. B. After the Civil War, our country became unified more strongly. C. It takes a great deal of training to unify all these recruits into an efficient fighting machine. 11. Summit. Highest point, top. A. We estimated the summit of the mountain to be 20,000 feet. B. Do not underestimate Ruth's ambition to reach the summit of the acting profession. C. The summit meeting of world leaders diminished the threat of war. 12. Heed. Give careful attention to, take notice of, careful attention. A. I demand that you heed what I say. B. Florence pays no heed to what the signs say. C. Take heed and be on guard against those who try to deceive you. Biography. The written story of a person's life, the part of literature that consists of biographies. A. Our teacher recommended the biography of the architect Frank Lloyd Wright. B. The reading of a biography gives a knowledge of people and events that cannot always be obtained from history books. C. The biography of Malcolm X is a popular book in our school. 2. Drench. Wet thoroughly, soak. A. A heavy rain drenched the campus, and the students had to dry out their wet clothing. B. The drenching rains resumed after only one day of sunshine. C. His fraternity friends tried to drench him, but he was too clever for them. 3. Swarm. Group of insects flying or moving about together. Crowd or great number. To fly or move about in great numbers. A. As darkness approached, the swarms of children playing in the park dwindled to a handful. B. The mosquitoes swarmed out of the swamp. C. Our campus swarmed with new students in September. 4. Wobble. Move unsteadily from side to side. A. Little Perry thrust his feet into the oversized shoes and wobbled over the table. B. A baby wobbles when it begins to walk alone. C. Lacking experience on the high wire, the clown wobbled along until he reached the safety of the platform. 5. Tumult. Noise, uproar, violent disturbance or disorder. A. The sailors' voices were too feeble to be heard above the tumult of the storm. B. There was such a tumult in the halls, we concluded an accident had occurred. C. The dreaded cry of fire caused a tumult in the theater. 6. Kneel. Go down on one's knees. Remain on the knees. A. Mira knelt down to pull a weed from the drenched flower bed. B. The condemned man knelt before the monarch and pleaded for mercy. C. Kneeling over the still figure, the lifeguard tried to revive him.
7. Dejected. In low spirits, sad. A. His biography related that Edison was not dejected by failure. B. The defeated candidate felt dejected and scowled when asked for an interview. C. There is no reason to be dejected because we did not get any volunteers. 8. Obedient, doing what one is told, willing to obey. A. The obedient dog came when his master beckoned. B. Obedient to his father's wishes, Guy did not explore any further. C. When parents make reasonable requests of them, the majority of my friends are obedient. 9. Recede, go back, move back, slow backward, withdraw. A. As you ride past in a train, you have the unique feeling that houses and trees are receding. B. Mr. Ranforth's beard conceals his receding chin. C. Always cautious, Mr. Camus receded from his former opinion. 10. Tyrant, cruel or unjust ruler, cruel master, absolute ruler. A. Some tyrants of Greek cities were mild and fair rulers. B. The tyrant demanded loyalty and obedience from his subjects. C. Though Ella was a tyrant as a director of the play, the whole cast was grateful to her when the falling curtain came down. 11. Charity, generous giving to the poor, institutions for helping the sick, the poor, or the helpless, kindness in judging people's faults. A. A free hospital is a noble charity. B. The entire community is a beneficiary of Henry's charity. C. The hired hand was too proud to accept help or charity. 12. Verdict, decision of a jury, judgment. A. The jury returned a verdict of guilty for the traitor. B. We were cautioned not to base our verdict on prejudice. C. Baffled by the verdict, the prosecutor felt that the evidence had been ignored. 1. Unearth, dig up, discover, find out. A. The digging of the scientists unearthed a barrack city. B. A plot to defraud the investors was unearthed by the FBI. C. The museum exhibited the vase that had been unearthed in Greece. 2. Depart, go away, leave, turn away from, change, die. A. We arrived in the village in the morning and departed that night. B. Stan was vague about departing from his usual manner of choosing a partner. C. Vera was reluctant to mention that her uncle had long since departed. 3. Coincide, occupy the same place in space, occupy the same time, correspond exactly, agree. A. If these triangles were placed one on top of the other, they would coincide. B. Because Pete's and Jim's working hours coincide, and they live in the same vicinity, they depart from their homes at the same time. C. My verdict on the film coincides with Adol's. 4. Cancel, cross out, mark so that it cannot be used, wipe out, call off. A. The star was only partially cancelled. B. Because the first shipment contained defective parts, Mrs. Zubin cancelled the rest of the order. C. Having found just the right man for the job, Captain Melidus cancelled all further interviews. 5. Debtor, person who owes something to another. A. If I borrow $1 from you, I'm your debtor. B. As a debtor who had received many favors from the banker, Mr. Merce was reluctant to testify against him. C. A gloomy debtor's prison was once the fate of those who could not repay their loans. Sex, legible, able to be read, easily to read, plain and clear. A. Julia's handwriting is beautiful and legible. B.
Nancy hesitated in her reading because the words were scarcely legible. C. Our teacher penalizes us for compositions that are not legible. A. Contagious. Spreading by contact, easily spreading from one to another. A. Scarlet fever is contagious. B. I found that yawning is often contagious. C. Interest in the project was contagious, and soon all opposition to it collapsed. 9. Clergy. Persons prepared for religious work. Clergymen as a group. A. We try never to hinder the clergy as they perform their sacred tasks. B. Friar Tuck was a member of the clergy who loved a jolly jest. C. The majority of the clergy felt the new morality was a menace to society. 10. Customary, usual. A. It was customary for wealthy Romans to recline while they were dining. B. The Robin Williams movie received the customary rave reviews from the critics. C. The traitor rejected the customary blindfold for the execution. 11. Transparent, easily seen through, clear. A. Window glass is transparent. B. Colonel Thomas is a man of transparent honesty and loyalty. C. The homicide was a transparent case of jealousy that got out of hand. 12. Scald. Pour boiling liquid over. Burn with hot liquid or steam. Heat almost to the boiling point. A. Do not neglect to scald the dishes before drying them. B. The scalding lava pouring from the mountain placed everyone in peril. C. By being hasty, Stella scalded her hand. Epidemic. An outbreak of a disease that spreads rapidly, so that many people have it at the same time. Widespread. A. All of the schools in the city were closed during the epidemic. B. The depiction of violence in the movies has reached epidemic proportions. C. During the epidemic we were forbidden to drink water unless it had been boiled. 2. Obesity. Extreme fatness. A. Obesity is considered a serious disease. B. The salesman tactfully referred to Jack's obesity as stoutness. C. At the medical convention, the topic discussed was the prevention of obesity. 3. Magnify. Cause to look larger than it really is. Make too much of. Go beyond the truth in telling. A. A microscope is a magnifying glass. B. It seems that Mr. Steinmetz magnified the importance of the document in his possession. C. Some people have a tendency to magnify every minor fault in others. 4. Chiropractor. A person who treats ailments by massage and manipulation of the vertebra and other forms of therapy on the theory the disease results from interference with the normal functioning of the nervous system. A. The chiropractor tried to relieve the pain by manipulating the spinal column. B. Mrs. Lair confirmed that the chiropractor had been treating her. C. The chiropractor recommended hot baths between treatments. 5. Obstacle. Anything that gets in the way or hinders. Impediment. Obstruction. A. The soldiers were compelled to get over such obstacles as ditches and barbed wire. B. Ignorance is an obstacle to progress. C. Prejudice is often an obstacle to harmony among people. 6. Ventilate. Change the air in. Purify by fresh air. Discuss openly. A. We ventilated the kitchen by opening the windows. B. The lungs ventilate the blood. C. There is merit in ventilating the topic of the prom before the entire senior class. 7. Jeopardize. Risk and danger. A. Soldiers jeopardize their lives in war. B. Mr. Marcus revised his opinion of police officers after 2 of them had jeopardized their lives to save his drowning child. C. Though he jeopardized his chance for a promotion, Mr. Raphael ventured to criticize his boss. 8. Negative. Saying no, minus, showing the lights and shadows reversed. A. The captain gave a negative response to the request for a leave. B. 3 below 0 is a negative quantity. C. A negative image is used to print a positive picture. 9. Pension. Regular payment that is now wages. To make such a payment. A. Pensions are often paid because of long service, special merit, or injuries received. B. The pension is calculated on the basis of your last year's income. C. Mrs. Colby pensioned of her employee after 30 years of loyal service. 10. Vital. Having to do with life, necessary to life, causing death, failure or ruin, lively. A. We must preserve and protect our vital resources. B. Eating is a vital function. The obese man reminded me. C. The valiant soldier died of a vital wound. 11. Municipal. Of a city or state. Having something to do in the affairs of a city or town. A. The state police assisted the municipal police in putting down the riot. B. There was only a mediocre turnout for the municipal elections. C. The municipal government placed a ban on parking during business hours. 12. Oral. Spoken, used in speech, of the mouth. A. An oral agreement is not enough. We must have a written promise. B. Oral surgery is necessary to penetrate the disease root. C. His unique oral powers made Lincoln a man to remember. Complacent. Pleased with oneself. Self-satisfied. A. Salutary denounced the complacent attitude of the polluters of our air. B. How can you be complacent about such a menace? C. I was surprised that Martin was so complacent about his brief part in the play. 2. Wasp. An insect with a slender body and powerful sting. A. When the wasps descended on the picnic, we ran in all directions. B. A swarm of wasps attacked us as we were reclining on the porch. C. The piercing sting of a wasp can be very painful. 3. Rehabilitate. Restore to good condition. Make over in a new form. Restore to former standing, rank, reputation, etc. A. The outhouse was rehabilitated at enormous expense. B. The former criminal completely rehabilitated himself and was respected by all. C. This wing of the house must be rehabilitated promptly, as there is a danger it will collapse.